tough schedule for FC Dallas.
Yeah, my only concern is coming up against a wounded animal. At some point, they're going to strike back, and it hasn't happened so far for them this season, so you'd hate to be the get-right game for Kansas City. But we'll see. We'll see on Saturday, and if you're coming to the game, to see you there. If not, tune in on the FC Dallas Radio Network. Our broadcast with myself, Steve, and Garrett will be live on the FC Dallas app as well as on YouTube, and pre- and post-game you can catch on Twitter or X, whatever you're calling it. But until then, and until next week on the FC Dallas Agenda, hope you have a good week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Following is a presentation of the FC Dallas Radio Network.
Out wide right with Ladero onto his favored left foot. Finds Jack McGlynn centrally. Just hit the post moments ago. No whistle as Musa got a tug of the jersey. We play on. Ball in behind for Julio. Foot race here. Anderson, Julio, past Tarbell. Empty net. Anderson, Julio!
The Diamond Dogs struck again on the road as FC Dallas secured a 1-0 win off the head of Lucho Acosta against Real Salt Lake. With 7 road points in hand, the club returns to Toyota Stadium looking for their first home win. To do so, they'll need to handle longtime foe Sporting Kansas City. Peter Vermees' side is in dire straits as their last win came in September of 2024. It's the Toros versus the former Wizards in Frisco tonight as FC Dallas hosts Sporting Kansas City. Along the lines of the FC Dallas Radio Network, it is the FC Dallas pregame show presented by your local Toyota dealer. Toyota, let's go places. On tonight's presentation, we'll hear from head coach Eric Quill and forward Logan Farrington. Your broadcast team for the evening, Ryan Figert and Steve Davis, will join me to break down the important tactics and storylines for tonight's home contest. But first, we welcome into the show. He is the FC Dallas Insider. He is 1/3 of the FC Dallas Agenda, heard every Wednesday on the FC Dallas Radio Network podcast feed. And of course, you can find his work on FCDallas.com. It is the great Garrett Meltzer. How's your bracket looking after a couple weeks of action here?
Very poor.
Well, so is mine too. So no shame in that either as well. Well, what didn't look poor was FC Dallas last week. Now, they did get a little bit of help from a red card from Piol in the 23rd minute, but it was Lucho Acosta who hits it home, and now Dallas has two wins, which doubles their total from 2024. With a little bit of distance now, we've had almost a week. What are we feeling after that big 1-0 victory in Salt Lake?
Look, a win on the road is always a good thing. You can never be mad about that. But I will say there's not too much you can take away from that game just because FC Dallas played up a man for a good 70 minutes or so. So it wasn't really a complete game. Hard to take away too much. But I will say that the new 4-3-1-2 formation that Eric Quill debuted out there looked pretty good. And even it looked pretty good in the first 20 minutes when it was 11v11. So promising signs, but I don't want to take up too much from that game.
No, we definitely don't. Well, let's see what we can take from tonight's game with the starting 11. It's Martin Potts back in net, Shaq Moore, Sebastian Ibiaga, Osaze Uragide, and Nolan Norris across the back line. Romero Benetti, Patrickson, Sebastian Lejette, and Lucho Acosta in the midfield. Petter Musa and Leo Chu up top for the Toros. And the eagle-eared among you are noticing the big change there. Nolan Norris at left back. He's in for Marco Farfan, who is in the 20 tonight. Eric Quill said they're managing the minutes for Marco, and that allows Nolan to get his first chance at left back. Two questions. Let's start with the obvious. What should fans expect from Nolan at left back tonight?
Well, Nolan is a super talented player. He's very technical. He's excellent on the ball, really good passing range, a really sweet left foot, and he's pretty good in the air, as we saw yesterday in training during the shooting practice, a couple headers that he put into the near post. And one thing I will say, he was very talented coming up in the academy at left back, but the previous coaching staff, when they brought him into the first team, they saw him more as even a center back or a defensive midfielder. So I think that's one reason he didn't break through as quickly as many homegrowns have, just because he didn't really find his natural position as quickly. But now that Eric Quill is in, he believes that the left back is going to be his natural spot. So he's going to get a good run out tonight. And the only thing I would maybe worry about him coming in, because he's a confident, talented player, like I said, is he does lack some pace. So oftentimes you'll have really pacey fullbacks because they're up against pacey wingers. That's not his strength, but he's a smart player, so he can probably think his way out of a lot of those issues.
And obviously one of the big questions will be, Marco's not injured or anything. He's played a lot of soccer over the last really 3 years. But the difference between Marco and Nolan out there, especially when it comes to the system that Quill is running out there with the 4-3-1-2, how do you expect that's going to look when people see him up the left flank?
That's a really good question. I would assume Nolan would be a little bit more stay at home, just because, like I said, he doesn't have the speed to run back if there's a counterattack going on, and he's probably more of a natural defender in a lot of ways. But like I said, also he has got a great left foot, so he can swing in balls. I just wouldn't expect him to be getting to the opponent's end line and swing across his back. I would think he'd probably making long cross-field switches with that left foot.
Yeah, hopefully Shaq Moore can do more than enough of that on the right side that it won't be an issue for Nolan. Well, back in the lineup tonight is Martin Paz after a brief jaunt basically all the way across the world. He plays against Australia. In Australia, he gets a win against Bahrain, in Jakarta for Indonesia. He's back tonight. He's been in training for a couple days. And I know there's some fans that are like, oh, he's only been here 2 days. He traveled so much. But that's not really a problem, especially when it comes to goalkeepers, is it?
No, it's definitely not for goalkeepers because, the fitness isn't as important. It's more about game reading and reflex saves, which shouldn't be affected too much by all the travel he's done. And also, we know Martin Paz takes his travel routine very seriously. He's got a sleep specialist that he works with, and he knows all the tips and tricks to get as much sleep on airplanes as possible. So I think he's coming in pretty fresh.
Now, the big thing is we saw a clean sheet last week from Michael Collodi in his MLS debut. The last 3 clean sheets for FC Dallas have all been with the backup keepers, twice for Maurer, once for Collodi. How can Dallas work with Martin Paz in this defense, including the debuting Nolan Norris, to try and get the Dallas #1 his first clean sheet in a while?
Yeah, that's such an odd stat, and I don't think that's one that really has a lot to do with Martin Paz. I think that's just how games have played out in a lot of ways. But in terms of getting clean sheets, it's the same thing as usual. Back four, be organized, stay compact, midfield, help track runners off the ball. And most importantly for this team, I think, is to close down crosses before they come in, because we know that's been this team's weakness for a number of seasons now, is defending balls into the box. And last week we did see Michael Collodi deal with that very well as a goalkeeper, kind of rushing out, even though he's not the tallest, kind of rushing out and being confident and getting a fist on it or even catching it. That's not what Martin Paz typically does, more of a stay-at-home goalkeeper with balls into the box, so maybe he could take a little leaf out of Collodi's book there and be a little bit more on the front foot when it comes to that. But I think it's one of those things that it's just a matter of time until he racks up another shutout.
Well, on the exact opposite end, Lucho Acosta gets his goal last week. That is the winner against Real Salt Lake. He's now 1 away from 75. He'd be the 7th player in MLS to do it. He's also 3 assists away from 100, which is a fantastic margin. He should get both before season's end. But we're 5 games or so into the Lucho Acosta experience, with the understanding it'll probably take him some more time because MLS doesn't really get ramped up till the summer. How are we feeling about the Lucho magic through 5 or so games?
I think the team is still figuring out how to use him best, which makes a lot of sense because with Lucho, oftentimes he is the system, right? So you've got to kind of figure out a system that works best around him. I do think that the new 4-3-1-2 formation plays better into his strengths because he gets an extra midfielder in there to kind of protect him defensively and also bridge the gap between attack and defense, because we know Lucho likes to stay forward. And look, you want a guy like that to stay forward. You want him on the ball in the final third as much as possible. And that's exactly what we saw in Salt Lake last week. And now, even before the red card happened and FC Dallas was up a man, Lucho was getting into more dangerous spots much more often, and that's going to be the key for this team. That's what will take this team very far. Speaking
of forwards, Leo Chu gets another start tonight. He got his debut last week for FC Dallas, played about 65 minutes or so, and I think people were surprised because he's a winger, not a forward. And when we talked to Eric Quill, he said a lot of the same thing. He's learning how to play that game. But I think you and I both agree on the fact that he really was clearly learning in real time. He was getting better as the game went on. I think it's fair to say we can continue to see more improvement from Chu here in his second start in a row.
Absolutely. He's a really talented player. That's why Dallas wanted to bring him in from Seattle when the Jesus Ferreira trade happened. And look, it's definitely tough for a player to come in, get your first minutes of the season with a new team, and you're out of position. So kind of a tall order in a lot of ways. And I thought he had kind of an indifferent game. He definitely grew into it, like you said, but only had about 20 touches or so. But I think most importantly is that he worked really hard off the ball. And that's what Eric Quill specifically was asking from him, because I think that's why he didn't get a ton of minutes, is that he wasn't quite as bought in as he needed to be. But now he's bought in. He's getting the minutes that he deserves now. And we'll hopefully it's only plain sailing from here.
And the guy that he's replacing, Anderson Julio, not in the starting 11 or the 20 for that regard. Now, he is back, so let's reassure folks, it's not an injury concern, it's been a very complicated visa process for the striker.
Yeah, he was down in his native Ecuador getting the green card, and it took a little longer than usual, but he got back late this week, but he only trained once, and that was on Friday, so not enough time to be in the squad. But I really can't wait to see him in this new formation, because I do think that second striker spot is probably his best role. That's where he did his best work in Real Salt Lake. That's why Dallas wanted to bring him in, but he still did really well as a natural winger over the first few games, scored that amazing goal in Houston, of course. But once he gets in next to Peter Musa, versa, and there's less defensive work asked of him as a striker rather than a winger, I think he's going to really light it up.
Yeah, the flexibility Dallas's roster has is really nice. Quill's talked about that as well as the week went on. Speaking of Ecuadorians, Patrickson gets his second straight start, and he only did 45 minutes against Real Salt Lake. Had to come out on a concussion sub because he and Pablo Ruiz went head-to-head. Ruiz got the worst end of that since he was split like a stuck hog. But the numbers really illustrated well Patrickson's value to that game. It was kind of hard to see on the eye test, but he was really spectacular. Quill spoke highly of him yesterday. Do you agree with the Gaffer sentiment that Patrickson's got a really nice little spot in that 8 role right now?
Absolutely, and I think this is actually is similar to the Nolan Norris discussion that we had. Of course, Patrickson had a lot more minutes than Nolan has, but the position was always kind of a question. He came in last season on loan, initially thought of as a defensive midfielder. He'd even played some center back for young Ajax the season before. So we're thinking we're getting a kind of a defensive win back the ball kind of guy, and that's really not where he shined for Dallas last season. He looked a lot more comfortable as a more advanced midfielder, scored some really, really great goals and some important goals as well. And then this season, the first time we saw him was off the bench as more of a winger, and that just didn't work at all. It completely unbalanced the team, and Dallas ended up conceding some goals fairly quickly right after it. But this position as the 8 in this midfield 3 behind the front 3 is really looks like it's his perfect spot because he can cover ground, he can win the ball back, he wins all his duels typically, and then he can get forward and contribute in the attack. So I think this is the way forward for him for sure.
Yeah, I think we're learning in real time what the coaching staff is seeing from some of these guys, and I think they're learning it as well. So it's very, very interesting to see how it develops over a 34-game season. Oh, Kansas City, it's finally time to talk about the opponent tonight, and it has not been very good for Kansas City. In fact, that's probably giving them a little too much credit. No wins since September of 2024, September 18th, if you're keeping track. They had a draw last week. That's their first point of the year. I know there was a lot of talk about, Dallas might be a wooden spoon team, Bria or Lucho Acosta. This Kansas City squad right now is really the makings of that. So the simple question is, what's going on with Kansas City?
Yeah, they're having a really tough time, and it's curious because they've done this before, honestly, when they start really poorly and then pick it up later on, so maybe that's just a Peter Vermees secret, the longtime head coach there, but it looks really rough for them, and even though Eric Quill has not won a game at home yet for this FC Dallas team, you'd think this has kind of got the makings of a get-right game in a lot of ways. This is a game that you need to put away because they're just struggling on both sides of the ball. And I like to point out that their one point this season came in a game where they were 3-0 down at home and came to fight back. So even though it's a point, you never want to be 3-0 down at home, even though they did come back. So, look, every game happens in a vacuum, but you still got to get it on the field. But Dallas should really make the most of this one.
And Melissa's greatest asset is every game is worth watching because you truly do never know, and that's going to be the case tonight, even with Kansas City being not so great. But that is Garrett Meltzer. Everything he does is worth watching. You can find it on FCDallas.com. Writing, you can find it on the FC Dallas Agenda every week where he co-hosts with Ryan and Steve, and you'll hear him on our halftime coverage tonight. Garrett, we'll talk to you in a little while.
Thanks for having me, Sam.
When we return here on the FC Dallas pregame show, we will hear tonight's sounds of the match. This is FC Dallas Soccer presented by Toyota on the FC Dallas Radio Network.
So, what'd you do this weekend?
Well, just took the Tacoma off-road, deep into the woods, got to this hidden campsite only it could reach.
Nice. I hooked up the boat to the Tundra and hit up the lake. Towed it like a pro. Had the whole lake to ourselves.
Hey, wait, did I mention I went rock climbing too? Yeah, thanks to the Tacoma's crawl control.
Well, sounds like we both had fun weekends.
Mine was better.
The Toyota Tundra and Tacoma are built for all the fun. Test drive at your local Toyota dealer or visit Toyota.com today. Toyota, let's go places. Feature availability differs based on trim. See Toyota.com for details.
Want to hear something incredible? That's Eleanor. Just 10 hours after being born, Eleanor was airlifted to Children's Health and met by our expert team trained in cardiac and critical care. At 4 days old, she received a stent to help her heart pump blood to the rest of her body. And today, she's a happy, healthy 1-year-old. That's incredible. That's Children's Health. Incredible together.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Hi everyone, it's Logan Farrington, and you're listening to FC Dallas Soccer on the FC Dallas app.
Winner, Chick-fil-A dinner. All season long, when FC Dallas wins at home, fans win free Chick-fil-A. Be sure your Chick-fil-A app is up to date and location services are turned on when you attend matches at Toyota Stadium. After the team wins, before you leave your seats, open the app to redeem the Chick-fil-A offer. Welcome back to the FC Dallas pregame shows. We're getting you ready for FC Dallas versus Sporting Kansas City tonight, and it is presented by Toyota. In our next segment, Ryan Figert and Steve Davis will join me. We'll break down the lineups, the tactics, everything you need to know ahead of tonight's Western Conference matchup at Toyota Stadium. And let's get you a reminder right fast about the FC Dallas Radio Network podcast feed, which is your hub for all FC Dallas audio. Of course, you'll have the post-game show where myself, Ryan, and Steve break down everything that happens across every match in the MLS calendar, even Smoking Cup when we play as well. You get it all in about 30 minutes or less. It's the perfect little encapsulation of every FC Dallas game, and that goes live after we finish it here on the air. But this year we've added the FC Dallas Agenda, which comes out every Wednesday morning. You'll hear Ryan, Steve, and Garrett break down the previous game. We'll hear from all the newsmakers. For instance, this week you heard from Michael Collodi, fresh off his MLS debut and his first clean sheet in Major League Soccer. He talked all about that, his preparation, what the coaches told him, and told his story as well. You heard it all on the FC Dallas Agenda. You'll hear from all the big newsmakers. Of course, we preview games. It's a wonderful about hour of your week. So all you got to do, go to FC Dallas Radio Network on your podcast provider of choice. Type that into the search bar. Hit subscribe so whenever we send you a new episode, you won't miss it. And by the way, it's entirely free. It's the best value in sports, people. I got to tell you. But let's get you the sound of tonight's match, which this evening, it's from manager Eric Quill and forward Logan Farrington. They talk about maintaining their road form here at Toyota Stadium and the challenge Sporting Kansas City brings to tonight's contest.
Stay really focused and pay close attention to the detail needed for this next game. Another important game, especially at home. We want to rectify our home defeats of recent. So we can't feel like we've done something greatly important with just getting one win. We've got to put consistent wins together, and again, the goal is to climb the table and get to the top. So great opportunity at home to do that, but we've got to be locked in and focused about all the details. No, we may go back to 4-2-3-1. We don't know. We liked what we saw, but our profiles, depending on who we decide to go with, will dictate. But it's nice to have multiple structures that we feel comfortable in. So we're taking a look at Sporting KC and what makes the most sense. But nothing's on the table at this moment. We're all discussing. They're a great team, man. It's early in the season. You've seen it from them before. They've come out of nowhere from the back and been on to the top. So Peter Vermeer's a great coach. Been doing it a long time. A lot of respect for him and his staff and what the organization's been. So we can't sit here and look at standings and think that they're not a great team. This league has shown week in, week out that anybody can beat anybody. You got to be up for it. You got to be. Your mentality's got to be strong, and your execution of the details have to be there. So this is a quality side coming in that needs points. So it's arguably even more dangerous, right? When teams are backs against the wall a bit. So we got to be up for it.
Yeah, I think team put in a great shift against Salt Lake, and we got the result. It was a little harder than we wanted it to be, and maybe not as comfortable as we wanted it to be, but ultimately 3 points is what we got, and that's what we needed. And away from home, we've been really strong, but we need to carry that momentum into a home win. If we can make our home a fortress starting now, and we're already taking care of business on the road, it'll help our season. We'll be looking down on people. Yeah, I think it's just not underestimating anybody. In this league, they're struggling the first 5 games, but they're still a top quality side MLS team. We know how they are from last year. We played them multiple times. They're fighters. They have a lot of energy. They have a lot of quality on their team. So we can't just look at the table and say, oh, they're down at the bottom. It's going to be easy win, because it's not. It's going to be a battle, and we need to come out ready for that.
When we return here on the FC Dallas pregame show, Ryan Figert and Steve Davis join us to break down tonight's matchup. This is FC Dallas Soccer presented by Toyota on the FC Dallas Radio Network.
UT Southwestern Medical Center in Dallas, Texas, where discoveries change lives. The spark of collaboration that fuels bold thinking in our labs. The spark of inspiration that motivates greatness in the next generation. And the spark of innovation that pushes the boundaries of today's care. At UT Southwestern, teamwork and talent combine to fuel discovery, education, and healing. UT Southwestern, the future of medicine sparks here.
Welcome to the world of WinStar.
the casino of FC Dallas, where 10,000 electronic games plus roulette, craps, and blackjack is just the beginning. Get lost in our 2-story luxury spa. Enjoy 36 holes of championship golf and catch the biggest names in music and comedy at the spectacular Lucas Oil Live, all just 1 hour north of DFW. So come live in the wow at the world of WinStar.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Hi everyone, it's Sebastian Leggett, and you're listening to FC Dallas Soccer on the FC Dallas app.
Welcome back to the FC Dallas pregame show presented by Toyota. We've got about 20 minutes until kickoff here from Toyota Stadium, so let's go ahead and bring you tonight's starting lineups, which this evening are brought to you by AdvoCare. We'll start first with the visiting Sporting Kansas City and 17th-year manager Peter Vermees. John Polskamp is in net for SKC. Kyrie Shelton, Jansen Miller, Danny Rosero, and Logan Ndenbe are on the back line. Jake Davis, Jacob Bartlett, and Manu Garcia are in the midfield for SKC. Longtime FC Dallas killer Daniel Shadowy, Dejan Jolovich, and Shapi Suleimanov are up top for SKC. And now let's bring you the starting 11 for FC Dallas and first-year manager Eric Quill.
Maarten Paas, goalkeeper, University of Amsterdam.
Shaq Moore, right back, Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Sebastian Ibiaga, center back, Duke University.
Osaze Origide, center back, Netherlands, Nijmegen.
Nolan Norris, midfielder, Fort Worth, Texas.
Ramiro Benetti, midfielder, Brazil.
Sebastian Leggett, center midfield, San Francisco, California.
Patrickson, mediocampista, Ecuador.
Lucho Acosta, midfielder, I'm from Argentina.
Liu Chu, winger, Porto Alegre, Brazil.
Petar Musa, forward, from Zagreb, Croatia.
Subs tonight for FC Dallas, Marco Farfan, Lalo Sabubakar, Siki and Sabling, Padrino, Show, Logan Farrington, Michael Kalodi, Kaike, and Bernard Kamungo. And now we bring in the voices of tonight's broadcast, Ryan Figert and Steve Davis. And Ryan, I'm going to let you be good cop. Nolan Norris gets his first start in 2025. What do you think we're going to see from the 20-year-old homegrown as he gets his first start for FC Dallas at left back?
I think I'm the leader of the Nolan Norris fan club. You know, if Nolan Norris has no fans, then I am dead. So I'm very excited to see him in the starting lineup for the first time under Eric Quill, and for the first time at left back at MLS level. There's been a lot of conjecture about what is his best position long term. We even asked Eric specifically that this week, and Eric said, look, he can be a Swiss Army knife. He's just a good player, and he can play in multiple different roles. But fullback is one where maybe his weaknesses could be more exposed. Thankfully, he's got Osaze Origide to cover behind him if there is any, foot races that he can't quite come out on top in against someone like Shapi Suleimanov, the winger for Kansas City. So, you wanted the positives. I think he can break lines with his passing. He's combative. He wins his duels. He's always good for a yellow card, of course, as has become sort of a meme. He's got 4 yellow cards and 6 career MLS appearances, so he'll have to manage that aggression level tonight. But he's in there alongside experienced pros, and that hasn't always been the case in his previous chances at the Major League Soccer level. It was when they had to really rotate the roster, or they were, expecting a big game coming up in the week, so they switched out 5-6 different players. He's in there with the first choice 11 tonight, and even though it's a position he hasn't played at this level, he's played it a ton with the youth national team, so I'm excited to see him get the opportunity.
Meanwhile, Steve, on the other end here, I'm going to ask you to be bad cop. What concerns you about Nolan getting his first left back start tonight?
Sam, what concerns me the most is that I'm the bad cop here. How come I have to be the bad cop?
Somebody has to be.
No, they don't have to be. I'm excited to see Nolan Norris tonight. I'm excited that Marco Farfan won't get run into the ground like we've seen him a couple of times over the last couple of years. So, no, I don't really have a big concern. I mean, he's played this at the youth national team level. Every time I've watched him in a Major League Soccer game, he looks like he's composed. He looks like he's not out of his element. So I think he'll do just fine tonight. The caveat being, as Ryan mentioned, if he picks up that yellow card early, he probably will get a yellow card at some point tonight. If he picks it up early, then he's got to really be careful, and that might make him manage himself a little bit differently. We'll see.
Yeah, and the knock against him has always been pace, and at this level, obviously, you come up against some top-level athletes, but at the youth national team level, they've played all the top nations, France, Argentina, Japan recently. Those guys are fast, too, and he's managed himself well at left back to the course of being the captain of that team and 20 appearances at the U20 level, so he can manage himself even against quicker wingers.
Well, then let me redeem myself by making you the good cop here. The midfield, obviously, last week, granted, against 10 men, so we're going to see its first real audition against 11, but it seemed like it really opened up this team with an extra week of training. How do you think it's going to benefit Dallas? Now they'll be a little bit more settled in that formation.
I thought they were pretty settled last week. What I liked about it was that they defended narrow. It gave them an extra defender in the middle. Now teams that are a little bit better about going around the outside, and if you have 11 players, you're going to be a little bit better about going around the outside. It might give them trouble. So, we'll see about that. But I just think it put more players into more natural positions. Leo Chu being the one who, really had to sort of sacrifice his normal game. He's sort of more of a classic winger. He had to play a little bit more inside. He maybe didn't get as involved in the game as maybe you would like him to, but I don't think he hurt anything. So I like the overall shape, and I like that it gave more people more comfort in their positions.
And in that same vein, Ryan, we might see it continue to evolve because you've got Show on the bench tonight. He's expected to get some more time. Eventually, Kaike is going to get some time. We'll see how he improves it. And, we're getting close to a time, he said, knocking on wood, that Paxton Pomacall might get to factor into that. So the midfield, as it looks now, is interesting, but it could continue to evolve and get better with more players.
Yeah, I think especially with Show, I'm excited to see him get hopefully his first minutes tonight because, similar to Marco Farfan at left back, Legette's not going to be able to give you 90 minutes a game all season long. And, he's at, this is his age 32 season. He's got plenty of miles on those legs, and as good as he's been, you're going to need someone to rotate in there as well. And, Show could play on either the left or the right of the midfield diamond, maybe even in the 6 if they needed him. So I think, he's been a missing piece that's kind of gone under the radar of, what he could bring, especially now that they're playing this new shape.
And, Steve, you brought up Leo Chu. He gets another start tonight alongside Peter Musa. And we talked about it a lot in the postgame, Ryan specifically did, about his growing into the game. You can see learning in real time there. Well, he gets another chance to do it tonight. No Anderson Julio due to green card issues, but this is a big opportunity for Chu to continue to establish himself in the FC Dallas hierarchy.
Yeah, I think we should explain a little bit more about Anderson Julio. Look, he's going to he could have featured tonight. He is back. He's got his green card. He was back in training at least on Friday. He just wasn't adjudged to be quite ready physically to play tonight, so I was a little disappointed to see that. But look, for Leo Chu, this is another opportunity. He's got one game under his belt already in this formation, and his job is to just run in behind. He's got the speed. That running in behind will serve to stretch the defense a little bit, and that's really, even if he doesn't touch the ball very much tonight, just make those runs. Repeat it, because that run, even if you move the line back 5 yards, it gives more operating space for Lucho Acosta and for Peter Musa when he drops in.
And, Ryan, we talked to Eric Quill about Chu a little bit yesterday, and at the very least, regardless of our opinion, the gaffer thinks very highly of him right now, and that's what really matters for FC Dallas.
No, it does, and I think he is very much a like-for-like with Anderson Julio, who we expect to be the starter, like Steve said, but ultimately it's hard to watch a game and judge off-ball movements, especially watching it live or in person. Watching the game back, he does a lot to help stretch the field, as Steve said, and his movements off the ball are going to be really important. We saw them working in training on these sort of coordinated movements where, Musa drops in like we've seen, and Chu makes the run in behind, or vice versa. So continuing to build that relationship and that chemistry with Lucho and with Musa is going to be important.
Well, let's talk Sporting Kansas City here before we go to break. And, boy, there's both not a lot and a lot you can talk about with Kansas City. Only 1 point on the year. That came last week in a draw. No win since September of last year. Steve Davis, I'm going to ask you a very simple question here. Where's the hope for Kansas City as they come into this one?
Well, I do think that they've added some good pieces this year. I sort of like Mario Garcia, $5 million player who's come in with La Liga and League One experience. We know that Jovic can score. He scored 15 goals. Now, it was for a team that was driven by Ricky Puig last year. Shape Sulamanov, another new winger. I think these are good players. It's the entirety of the Kansas City project under Vermees that feels a little stale now. And so they do have good pieces, though. And then, of course, there's the guy that just scares you guys to death. Daniel Shallowy's coming in, and he's getting the start tonight because he is sort of an FC Dallas killer. So that's the hope if you're Kansas City, that these good pieces can start pulling it together.
Clarity here. He scares Ryan to death, which is why I'm going to say, Ryan, why does Daniel Shallowy scare you so much before we go to tonight's keys?
Yeah, 10 goals, 3 assists in 20 games. It seems like he always pops up with big goals against Dallas, and he's got over 20% of his career goals against FC Dallas. So for whatever reason, when he sees Dallas on the other side, it just means more for Daniel Shallowy, and it'll be a big matchup for Shaq Moore. As you guys pointed out, he's never come up against Shaq Moore as an FC Dallas right back, so this is a new test for him tonight.
And Shaq Moore's been playing very well, especially defensively, I think.
Yeah, that's going to be probably your matchup to watch tonight if you're FC Dallas, Daniel Shallowy versus Shaq Moore. But something we're always on the lookout for is the keys to the match, which tonight are presented by Toyota, and they're brought to us by Steve Davis.
Thank you, Sam. We just talked about it a minute ago. Number one, just keep running it behind that opposition back line. Whether it's Leo Chu or Farrington coming in off the bench later, those runs will drop that SKC line and provide Lucho Acosta a little bit more operating space between the lines. So run and repeat and repeat and repeat. Number two, it's that Lucho Musa combination, Dallas's high-value DP combo. They've clicked in a couple of matches this year, and FC Dallas has gotten good results in those, but can they do it consistently? Can they do it at home tonight? Can they do it even a little bit more? That critical connection really needs to happen tonight. Then number three is control the match. Losing control late has happened 2 or 3 times this year, and if they get a lead tonight, it's imperative that FC Dallas finds a way to stay in control, whether it's through subs, through tactical realignment, through hyper-focused effort, whatever it is, stay in control of the match. Those are your keys, presented, Sam, by Toyota.
Thank you, Steve. Tim Cahill, the former Australia pro, is about to light the shield here as we finish up the FC Dallas pregame show. When we come back, it'll be Ryan and Steve getting you ready for tonight's actions. FC Dallas, it's Sporting Kansas City here at Toyota Stadium. You're listening to FC Dallas Soccer, presented by Toyota on the FC Dallas Radio Network.
So, what'd you do this weekend?
Well, just took the Tacoma off-road, deep into the woods, got to this hidden campsite only it could reach.
Nice. I hooked up the boat to the Tundra and hit up the lake. Towed it like a pro. Had the whole lake to ourselves.
Hey, wait, did I mention I went rock climbing too? Yeah, thanks to the Tacoma's crawl control.
Well, sounds like we both had fun weekends.
Mine was better.
The Toyota Tundra and Tacoma are built for all the fun. Test drive at your local Toyota dealer or visit Toyota.com today. Toyota, let's go places. Feature availability differs based on trim. See Toyota.com for details.
UT Southwestern Medical Center in Dallas, Texas, where discoveries change lives. The spark of collaboration that fuels bold thinking in our labs. The spark of inspiration that motivates greatness in the next generation. And a spark of innovation that pushes the boundaries of today's care. At UT Southwestern, teamwork and talent combine to fuel discovery, education, and healing. UT Southwestern, the future of medicine sparks here.
Hi everyone, it's Maarten Paas, and you're listening to FC Dallas Soccer on the FC Dallas app.
Well, you rarely venture into must-win territory in Week 6 of an MLS season, but for different reasons, both FC Dallas and Sporting Kansas City are desperate for 3 points tonight at Toyota Stadium. For Sporting, the case for a must-win is obvious. They haven't done so in 13 games dating back to September 2024, and Peter Vermees, who is by far the longest-tenured manager league-wide, is under increasing pressure for his job. For Dallas, they've set a high standard for themselves on the road this year, but they're yet to put on the display to be proud of for their fans here in Frisco. Today feels like a truly golden opportunity for them to do so. I'm Ryan Figert. I'm joined on the call tonight by Steve Davis. And Steve, it feels like the script of the past regimes for FC Dallas has been flipped with Eric Quill after years of road struggles, but solid home form. We find ourselves winless at home and excellent on the road with 7 points away. How do you diagnose that problem now 5 games into the season?
Well, I'll tell you what, I think you framed it correctly there when you talked about this being a must-win, because usually the framing of a must-win means in the standings. What does it mean in the standings? But, of course, we're still in March. It doesn't mean anything in the standings. But if you lose a third in a row at home, people are going to start asking questions. People might start losing faith. And you could really start seeing control of the season start to slip away. It's never happened that they've lost 3 in a row to open the season at home. So both teams, as you said, feeling a lot of pressure about this one in completely different ways.
And for Sporting, Peter Vermees, he rolls the dice a little bit tonight with the lineup, turning to some youth in midfield. Jacob Bartlett, the brother of former FC Dallas defender Lucas Bartlett, and Jake Davis, their homegrown, alongside him. with new signing Manu Garcia completing the midfield 3. That trio is going to be up against it, though. Dallas going to 4 in the midfield last week with the Diamond. How do you see that matchup in the middle of the field?
Well, I think it's pretty smart for Peter Vermes, because I think what he's done is judge that FC Dallas has experience in the midfield, but maybe they're not athletic in there. So he's put his young athletic midfielders in there, hoping just to outwork them, outspeed them, out-hustle them.
In midfield for Dallas tonight, Ramiro at the 6 with Sebastian Lletget and Patrickson Delgado either side of him. Lucho Acosta, of course, the Dallas captain, is in at the number 10. Both teams lined up at the halfway mark here, either side of the referees. Tonight, the man in the middle is Fotis Bazakos. The assistant referees, Ian McKay and Nick Balser. And over in Arlington, Texas, Carol Ann Senard, the video assistant referee, who had to get involved last week as RSL got a red card via VAR and helped Dallas en route to another road victory, 1-0 in Salt Lake. But as we mentioned, winless here at Toyota Stadium and looking to change that up against Peter Vermes, sporting Kansas City tonight. Steve, we talked about it in the pregame show, and we will talk about it on the other side of this break. The changes to the Dallas lineup, including Martin Poss and Nolan Norris. So stick around for that and for kickoff here on the FC Dallas Radio Network.
So, what'd you do this weekend?
Well, just took the Tacoma off-road, deep into the woods, got to this hidden campsite only it could reach.
Nice. I hooked up the boat to the Tundra and hit up the lake. Towed it like a pro. Had the whole lake to ourselves.
Hey, wait, did I mention I went rock climbing too? Uh-huh, yeah, thanks to the Tacoma's crawl control.
Well, sounds like we both had fun weekends.
Mine was better.
The Toyota Tundra and Tacoma are built for all the fun. Test drive at your local Toyota dealer or visit Toyota.com today. Toyota, let's go places. Feature availability differs based on trim. See Toyota.com for details.
Welcome to the world of WinStar, the casino of FC Dallas, where 10,000 electronic games plus roulette, craps, and blackjack is just the beginning. Get lost in our 2-story luxury spa. Enjoy 36 holes of championship golf and catch the biggest names in music and comedy at the spectacular Lucas Oil Live, all just 1 hour north of DFW. So come live in the wow at the world of WinStar.
Want to hear something incredible? That's Eleanor. Just 10 hours after being born, Eleanor was airlifted to Children's Health and met by our expert team trained in cardiac and critical care. At 4 days old, she received a stent to help her heart pump blood to the rest of her body. And today, she's a happy, healthy 1-year-old. That's incredible. That's Children's Health. Incredible together.
UT Southwestern Medical Center in Dallas, Texas, where discoveries change lives. The spark of collaboration that fuels bold thinking in our labs. The spark of inspiration that motivates greatness in the next generation. And the spark of innovation that pushes the boundaries of today's care. At UT Southwestern, teamwork and talent combine to fuel discovery, education, and healing. UT Southwestern, the future of medicine sparks here.
Hi everyone, it's Sebastian Ibiaga. Tonight's FC Dallas match is up next, right here on the FC Dallas app.
Well, it is a picture-perfect night for soccer here at the Toyota Stadium. It's 77 degrees and clear skies for now. The fans filling into their seats as we're just a couple moments away from kickoff here in Frisco, Texas. Steve, things look a little bit different around here this season. Toyota Stadium going under renovations, and that kicked off this Wednesday. You're at the media event. Maybe tell me what you heard and what you're looking forward to with the new construction.
Yeah, Ryan, the media event was the official groundbreaking of the new construction that's going to go on the east side of the stadium this year. You know, the thing is with these stadiums, Ryan, you get some benefit from being one of the first to do this in Major League Soccer. Dallas was third after Columbus and LA. This is more than 20 years ago now. So they got a lot of benefit out of it by being early to the process, but by now it's 20 years since this thing's been open. These things, the way we think about them, the way we look at MLS stadiums, the way we develop them has changed. It's time for a facelift, and it started officially the other day.
If you want more information on the renovations, you can head to newtoyotastadium.com. But tonight, we've got 3 points on the line, and the two teams taking the field here in front of us. FC Dallas in their red and blue, moving from right to left. Martin Poss decked out in all green will be in the goal down to our right. For Sporting Kansas City, they're in light blue with dark blue hoops, and they'll move from left to right. Here in this first half, John Postgame, the goalkeeper, decked out in all black, will take place in the goal down to our left as the fans welcome Petter Musa to the lineup. He will lead the line, and he scored in all 3 games against Sporting Kansas City across all competitions, including that Open Cup matchup, which was ultimately kind of the final nail in Dallas' season last year, and it allowed Kansas City to qualify for the Champions Cup in a really down year. These 2 teams have prior, Steve. This is game number 75 between Sporting Kansas City and FC Dallas, and there's been some classics over the years.
There have been, and by the way, you just mentioned that Champions Cup that run. I tell you what, when they played at Miami, they ended up getting beat by that one, and the scoreline looked a little lopsided, but they were the better team in the first half. They just couldn't do it in front of goal, and that's sort of been a big part of their season and their struggles so far. But they were very good that night, so it is a team that has some capability.
And in that game, they did turn to Jacob Bartlett, who's back in the midfield tonight, the young homegrown for Sporting Kansas City, getting another opportunity, his second start in MLS play this season after 1 year at Notre Dame. Peter Vermees turning to an FC Dallas killer and Daniel Shallowy, and turning to some youth in midfield to try and counter the Dallas Diamond Dogs in the middle of the field. The referee tonight, Otis Bazakos, hands the ball to Lucho Acosta as we are just about set to get underway. Acosta patrolling the center circle, armband on his left bicep, looking for his first signature moment here in front of the home fans at Toyota Stadium after a couple of very special goals on the road. Say the same for the whole team, looking for that first moment.
Ryan, I feel like Dallas has already accomplished something tonight, and that in the second half they're going to be going toward the supporter end. You know, the first 2 games, I think around the league, that's sort of the word is sort of out. Hey, if you win the coin toss, make Dallas flip the script a little bit and make him go that way in the first half, which they prefer not to do.
They'll have the Rhine at full voice behind them here in the first half, and they'll attack down towards that end, hoping to celebrate some goals in the second half with the home faithful as Lucho Acosta drops it off, and we are underway. Ramiro swinging it out to Nolan Norris, who's getting his first start under Eric Quill tonight. He drops it off to Uragide, put under pressure by Joveljic, but Ramiro helps him get it back to Martin Paz, who's back from international duty. Picked up a very important victory with Indonesia. They continue to fight for World Cup qualification out of Asia.
Need to start a little more crisp than that. Ramiro plays a poor pass that Nolan Norris has to go retrieve and play back to Uragide. Uragide got a little pressure there, so Dallas needs to be a little more crisp here early.
Another chance for Norris, who again drops it off to Uragide. Those two will have to form a partnership and quickly, with Marco Farfan getting a little bit of a rest. He's on the bench tonight, but they're trying to manage him after really 2 straight seasons of maxing out everything that Marco can offer them. Martin Paz on the ball here between the center backs, rolls it out to Uragide, wide for Norris, down the line for Delgado. Delgado with Jake Davis on his back. He's going to switch the play across to Ibeagha. Ibeagha nearly saw that one get away from him, but he manages to swing it wide for Shaq Moore under pressure from Shallowy. First touch for Leo Chu at Toyota Stadium, in an FC Dallas uniform anyway. And here's a nice combination with Lucho Acosta through the lines. Leo Chu losing his footing under pressure from Rosero. And now Kansas City looking to go the other way. Shallowy up the left side, runners to his right. Ibeagha defending, top of the box now, Manu Garcia. Shaq Moore on retreat, forces it back to Jake Davis. Shot through traffic, goes wide.
Shaq Moore got caught a little high there that time, and it isolated Ibeagha out on the left with Shallowy, and that is not what you want. It was a good ball to put Shallowy into a good spot down that left side. Ultimately, nothing coming out of it. Jake Davis' shot sort of squirts wide right.
Shallowy, who peaked back in 2021 when he was an All-Star and an MVP finalist, and hasn't really lived up to those heights again, except when he sees FC Dallas on the other side. Mentioned in the pregame show, he's got 10 goals, 3 assists in 20 games against Dallas all time. Dallas going to have to retake a goal kick. Procedural issue there as now Uragide swings it over to Paz. Kansas City front 3 tonight. Suleimanov and Joveljic both new this season. Shallowy in his 10th season all with Kansas City. Long ball towards Musa. He wins the header. Flicked on looking for Leo Chu. And Dembe sends it clear, and through the lines it breaks for Joveljic now. Uragide on retreat. Uragide gets there first, and he concedes a corner. But not for the first time. Dallas looking a little bit lackluster at the back.
Well, Uragide showing that really good recovery speed there. But it looked like that ball just sort of squirted through 3 red shirts as they all just looked at each other, expecting somebody else to go ahead and take that one. And turns into the game's first corner kick.
Dallas, whose open cut bid fell short in Kansas City last year. Daniel Rosero scoring from a corner in extra time. And Rosero getting just his second start of the season is matched up with Urquide around the penalty spot. 4 runners for Kansas City at the back post, now streamed towards the near post. Norris wins the header and sends it well clear.
Good ball supplied by Jake Davis there.
Manu Garcia, Spanish midfielder, down the line for Suleimanov. Cross swung in off the right foot, flicked on, and at the back post, Jake Davis, second shot of the game. And this one equally off target to try to take it on the full volley.
Not a big sample size here, but Kansas City's owned the first 4 minutes.
And Dallas will set up for another short goal kick. And when they do, Kansas City actually have numbers 3 against 2 with the Dallas center backs. Dallas leaving players further up the field. Norris playing it down the line now for Delgado. Nice flick to Ramiro. And quick combination brings Delgado again up the left side. Jake Davis defending, and Davis comes away with it. Delgado wanted the foul, not given. Dallas sort of betting on their center backs and goalkeeper to play in an even number situation out of the back. Nearly getting caught a couple of times. Now here's the ball in behind. Norris and Suleimanov in a foot race. This one headed down towards the corner flag. And Suleimanov able to force a corner kick, as he just about got there and flicked it off of Norris. Second corner for Kansas City, this time from the near side.
That's a little bit of a knock on Nolan Norris's game, is that he doesn't have the best foot speed straight away like that. That time he did a pretty good job of keeping up with Suleimanov. A little bit of contact in the corner, and Nolan Norris just got unlucky to have the ball bounce off of him for the corner kick.
Hand fighting between Urquide and Rosero again around the penalty spot. It's going to be an in-swinger for Manu Garcia, the left footer. First, the referee going to have a conversation between the 2 center backs. Rosero in his 4th season with Kansas City, the Colombian. Now has made good momentarily with Urquide. Now they're back to shoving each other. And now we're back to halting the play. The referee said, "This is what I just told you about, guys." There's always going to be some hand fighting on the corner kick, but now it's under the microscope for the referee. Suleimanov, 2 arms raised, in-swinger from the near side, right into the danger area towards Joveljic. But Norris, I think, again, able to win the header at the near post. Joveljic offside here as it flicked back towards him. Flag goes up belatedly as it rolled through to Martin Paz. 6 minutes in, Kansas City with the best of the opening exchanges. That was a couple of moments of clean possession, but a lot of pressure on them in their own third so far. No pressure this time from Kansas City. They sit in the mid-block, in the middle third, as Paz brings it outside the box on the dribble. Now out to Ibiaga. 4 players threatening the press against Ibiaga there as he goes back to Martin Paz. Goes long and direct out towards Shaq Moore. Aerial battle there, won by Ndimbe. Second ball breaks for Leggett. Lifts it ahead, down the line. Musa gives chase here, matched up with Miller. And Miller didn't get much behind that clearance. It breaks for Lucho Acosta. Through ball intended for Musa. It's cleared away by Jake Davis. First time Dallas goes over the top of the press, and consider that a half chance.
Yeah, Lucho had Delgado making an overlapping run around the left. I thought he might do that, but instead he tried to squeeze that ball into a tight space in the middle. Didn't come off for Peter Musa.
Ramiro switches the play. A lot of space for Shaq Moore on the far side. And he will dribble into that space. The green grass to Roman. Now the cross swung in low. Leggett flicks it on into the feet of Musa. Set back for Leo Chu. Shot blocked. Breaks back for Sebastian Leggett. Bit of chaos inside the area here as Leggett trying to win it back from Rosero. Still not cleared. And Rosero playing on the ground. Gets away with it. As the second ball won by Delgado. Breaks back for Ramiro. Quick combination with Lucho. Lucho ball over the top. Far side for Musa. Going to have to retrieve it as that one was slightly overhead. It's behind for a goal kick. A lot of chaos in there, Steve.
Yeah, first danger moment for FC Dallas. Nobody could just quite get the ball out of their foot to get get a good shot off. I guess it was Leo Chu that got one shot, but he didn't hit a whole lot of it. It was blocked easily at about the 6.
Leo Chu in the partnership with Musa up top tonight for the second straight game. It's the first time that a Dallas winger has gotten 2 straight starts this season, as we've seen Julio, Farrington, and Kamungo rotating in and out. Julio not available tonight. He traveled back from Ecuador late, getting his green card, missing the last 2 games, now 3 straight. Bit of an unexpected blow for Dallas after such a strong start to life here in Frisco.
It didn't end up hurting him last week, but we'll see about tonight. It would have been nice to have him at least come off the bench.
Manu Garcia, ball over the top, looking for Shallowy on the far side. That one bounces out of play, and it'll be a goal kick. Well, the best way to experience FC Dallas soccer is with a season ticket membership, which has a host of benefits, making it the best option in sports, including a complimentary MLS Season Pass membership, discounts on concessions at Toyota Stadium, and much more. You can find the membership that's perfect for you at fcdallas.com/memberships. Martin Pass again going long, this time out towards the Dallas left, intending to find Nolan Norris, but it's picked up by Kyrie Shelton. Shelton in at right back, where Jake Davis has played the whole season so far. Davis shifting into midfield tonight. Ball back to Postgame. Acosta will give chase as Postgame puts his foot through it. Norris brings it down, intending to find Delgado. Bounces all the way through now to Uriguide. Ramiro back to Uriguide, back to Martin Pass.
Shaq doing a good job. Shaq Moore doing a good job there a minute ago of just putting his body on Shallowy and making sure that that situation doesn't get dangerous.
Moore now whistled for a foul as his hand was in the general vicinity of the player's face. Definitely no intent there. Manu Garcia now being picked back up by his teammate.
I think Shaq Moore's been playing really well lately. He did get his hand up there in Manu's face. And I think he's done well on the attack. Had the key cross the other day. I think he's done really well on his one-on-one defending. So I think he's done a good job of showing why they brought him over from Nashville.
No backup right back tonight. Enzo Newman went 90 minutes for North Texas last night as they lost in the penalty shootout, extra point shootout against Kansas City 2. Davis, ball from the far side, drops in right around the penalty area. Uriguide got a touch. Musa couldn't clear it. And eventually Shaq Moore concedes a corner, fearing conceding something worse. 3rd corner of the night for Kansas City. This one will be from the far side, where Jake Davis is at the ready with an in-swinger off his right foot.
This is a lot of Kansas City this year. You know, we'll see what happens here, but a lot of times they do a good job of moving the ball into the attacking third, but they're not great from there.
And swinger from Davis towards the back post. No name attached. This one bounces all the way through for a goal kick. Rosero and Shallowy intended targets, but too much on it from the Kansas City homegrown. Some instruction from Eric Quill. Some fiery instruction from Eric Quill to Nolan Norris.
I would say pretty much every time I've seen Kansas City, except for the game that they lost last week to LAFC, in most of the game they look like the better team, but they just don't have it quite up front. They don't have it together up front right now.
Leo Chu pressing from the front there as Manu Garcia brings it into midfield, breaks back for Bartlett, now wide with Shallowy. Matched up with Shaq Moore. Shallowy cross into the danger area. Suleimanov, just over his head. And out the other side for Kyrie Shelton. Now Davis, cross from the top of the box. And another corner coming, again conceded by Shaq Moore.
I thought a minute ago Shaq Moore maybe could have just headed that ball out into touch for a throw-in, but that time I think it was the right choice. He was a little too close to goal, really didn't have any other option except to give up the corner kick.
4 corner kicks in 12.5 minutes.
Not what you want.
Davis got the last delivery wrong. Another chance at it here just a minute or two later. This one much more dangerous. Pass gets a good punch to it though. He's left Leggett a little bit hobbled, now back to his feet. Sets the line at the top of the 18. Ball in behind. Brought down by Miller, the center back. Laid off for Shalloway. Shalloway through the legs of Urquide. Sliding tackle from Delgado. And out for a Kansas City throw on the near side. Suleimanov will leave the throw for Kyrie Shelton. Takes it quickly into the feet of Davis. Musa now putting pressure on Jensen Miller. Kyrie Shelton, former Oregon State forward, now a right back for Kansas City. Here's Davis inside the area. Cross intended for Joveljic. Cut out. Bounces back out for Suleimanov. Delgado defending. Acosta helping him out there. Last touch off Acosta. Another quick throw taken by Kansas City.
Kansas City keeping a high tempo and a high pressure right now on Dallas.
Switching the field now. Across to Ndembe. Ndembe, who threatened to break out a couple seasons ago, but he's had really bad luck with injuries since then. Kansas City left back. Handball whistled there. It's Jake Davis, who's been very involved in these opening 14 minutes and change. He and his goalkeeper, John Postgame, were alternates for the United States at the Olympics. Speaks to their quality. Ball over the top here from Moore, intended for Musa. Musa's going to get there. Musa inside the area, tries to cross in. Miller is going to see this one over the line, and Dallas now has a corner.
Kansas City keeping an aggressively high line, and really that's the first time they went over the top effectively. You mentioned a minute ago it's really the second time they've tried to go over the top, but I think they found a good angle that time. They got the home team's first corner kick out of it.
15 minutes gone. Acosta across to take it, meaning will be some form of an out-swinging service. Targets to aim at. Nolan Norris offering a semi-short option at the top of the box. Acosta swings it in. Looking for Musa, headed away by Kansas City. Second ball won by Norris. Breaks for Musa. Oh, he blazed it over the bar. Flag may have gone up, but Nolan Norris with a nice ball back into the 18, and Petr Musa couldn't take the chance.
I don't know if he was offside or not, but Petr Musa, you really would like to see him stick that in the back of the net. He was not offside, and he was he had all kinds of time. He was cleared by 4 yards. He was definitely onside. I think he just didn't quite understand that he had no pressure around him. Could have actually taken a touch.
Would have made it a lot easier than what he tried to do, which was take a full volley from a ball over his shoulder.
Now that's just surprising because he's got such a good striker's instinct usually in those situations.
And he's been so good against Kansas City. He scored in all 3 games against Peter Vermees' side last year.
Well, he's got plenty of time to do it tonight, but that's one he wants back for sure.
Best chance of the game for Dallas. A game which has been largely controlled by the visitors so far, and they're threatening to break out here. Joveljic out to Shelton. A lot of space for the right back for Kansas City. He's got Suleimanov further wide. Now he does find the Russian winger. Nolan Norris gets some contact on Suleimanov, and he's whistled for a foul. You can see what Norris was trying to do, just get his body in between the man and the ball, but he's conceded a free kick here. Dangerous position.
They really just got tangled up. Fotis Bazako's just adjusting. There was just a little too much contact from Nolan Norris, a little too much aggression in that.
Now Davis, Suleimanov stand over this free kick. Davis the right-footed option. Suleimanov with the left. 2-man wall for Dallas. Defending Martin Paas near post. 4 Kansas City players. Targets to aim at inside the 18. Dallas sets their line in line with the wall, just a yard or so into the box. It's going to be Suleimanov, left-footed ball, bending towards the back post, but that one without a name attached. It bounces through. Martin Paas ensures it's a goal kick.
Yeah, Martin Paas doing a good job of just watching that one carefully, not getting a touch on it. Saw a ball something like that sort of befuddle an LA Galaxy goalkeeper last week and turned it into a nightmare.
Norris back to Urquide. Switching ball out to Shaq Moore, who when they found him has had some decent time and space on the ball. Ramiro puts the ball in behind, but Leo Chu was checking short that time. And Daniel Rosero retrieves it for Kansas City. Back to Postgame. Now Dallas stepping the line of confrontation higher up the field, but Kansas City is going to break out here with Ndimbe.
Well, they did step it up, sort of. You know, you can't really have that. You can't have a disconnected press that way. You either got to commit to the press or let the front three drop back. That time the front three pressed. Nobody else did, and it allowed Sporting Kansas City to break out pretty easily.
Eric Quill, very demonstrative on his touchline here in the opening 20 minutes.
Maybe he saw the same thing I did.
Some things to work out for sure. For a team in search of their first home win. Been excellent on the road, but nothing for the fans to speak of really in their 2 games here in Frisco. Ball in behind, and Norris had vacated the left back spot. Urigide just muscles Suleimanov away from the ball there and wins it back for Dallas.
Did Bazakos call a foul there? I thought he did. And then the ball was still rolling as they took that free kick.
And now Dallas rolling out on the right side with Leo Chu easily past Daniel Shallowy, but not past Jake Davis. Bites in with the tackle, as does Ramiro, winning it back now at the feet of Musa. Acosta with Shelton all on his case. Now Leo Chu out to Shaq Moore on the far side. Sliding tackle from Ndimbe. Moore keeps it and wins a throw.
That time it was legit, and Chu sort of not on the same page. A minute ago it was Ramiro and Chu. Maybe that's just the fact that he's only making his second start this year.
Throw in from Moore, finds the feet of Ramiro. Has to turn back and play Sebastian Ibiaga. Ball down the line looking for Shaq Moore. He wins the second ball back. Can't find a teammate with it. For as good as the diamond formation looked in Salt Lake, it's struggling to find the cohesion that we saw in these opening 20 minutes here back at home.
Yeah, and I will say that Sporting Kansas City is pretty good at possession, and Dallas, in fact, last week against RSL, against 10 men RSL, was the first time Dallas actually had more possession, so it's not totally surprising that Kansas City would have a little bit more to play right now.
Norris, another soft foul there, right around the halfway line against Suleimanov. Here's a loose pass out of the back from Rosero. Musa intercepted it but couldn't find a teammate. And that possession stat not helped by some sloppiness from the front players for Dallas. Shallowy with it now on the far side for Kansas City. Switching through the young homegrown Jacob Bartlett now. Suleimanov on this near side will run at Nolan Norris. Poke towards Jake Davis. Repelled by Urigide, who's out defending against Shelton here in the wide area. And Urigide just going to shield this one over the line. Big positive on display for Dallas in these opening 21 minutes has been Urigide for sure, as it has been all season.
And that's I was just about to say, no surprise at all. I mean, they've really found something to this young defender. He just he's got it all as a defender. You know, he can not only make the hard tackles, he's got the recovery speed. He can dribble out of the back. Good passer out of the back. Smart player too.
Martin Poss diagonal on point, finds Nolan Norris, headed to Delgado. Now here's Lucho Acosta between the lines for the first time tonight. Ball in behind for Musa. Matched up with Miller. Corner of the 18 on the near side. Miller loses his footing. Musa retrieves it back from him. Low cross off the left foot. Defended by Kyrie Shelton and St. Clair. And Suleimanov causing problems for Dallas here. And it's a break going the other way. Odds against Dallas numbers-wise. Ibiaga at full retreat. Shallowy into the 18 now. And Ibiaga did really well there. Just helped it back to Martin Poss. Shallowy, the danger man against Dallas in the past, couldn't take advantage.
Dallas wasn't very good behind the ball. Wasn't structured very well and almost paid the price. But Ibiaga, that might be as fast as I've ever seen him run.
Here's the ball over the top looking for Leo Chu. Flag stays down. Leo Chu just about beaten to it by John Postgame, and now the flag goes up. I'll tell you, Steve, Suleimanov is not tracking back at all, and that means he's there for those counterattacking runs. They've set up right behind where Nolan Norris likes to go forward. Not for the first time, Kansas City with a numbers advantage on the counter.
The Dallas has to recognize and make the adjustment, but also make them pay for him not tracking back over there.
He's got it again, this time in the defensive half. Back to Jensen Miller might have found himself playing for St. Louis City if he'd come through a couple of years earlier. He's a St. Louis native, went through Indiana University, and somehow didn't end up at FC Dallas, the way they like to draft Hoosiers.
Hoosiers and Oregon State.
Miller, a top 10 pick in the Super Draft, first top 10 pick for Kansas City, at least defensive-wise, since Matt Beasler. We saw how that turned out. Shaq Moore, ball over the top. Rosero had to get that one right as Acosta was in pursuit.
I don't mind Dallas going over the top and seeing it not work, because remember, Dallas only has to get that right one time. Kansas City's got to get it right every time.
First yellow card of the game goes to Shaq Moore for a foul on Daniel Shallowy. Don't think any of the fouls really have had much vigor in them, but there have been quite a few for Dallas. Both fullbacks whistled for at least 2 or 3. And now Shaq Moore's got to play with a yellow card.
I can't remember whether it's the second or the third on Shaq Moore. I believe it's the third, and so I think that was persistent infringement.
First booking of the game goes the way of the Dallas right back, and he's immediately under fire once again. Switching ball from Miller out to Shallowy. Shallowy can't keep it in play.
Kansas City's really good. It has been good for a long time at hitting those diagonal switching balls, sort of taking possession from one side to the other very quickly. And the way you can mitigate some of that is just by being a little bit better in the midfield and closing those potential switchers down a little quicker.
Well, they lost track of Lucho Acosta there, and he was able to receive it from the throw, turn and find Musa, who wins a foul and draws a yellow card. Jacob Bartlett picking up a yellow card.
Yeah, he got it pretty good from Bartlett that time.
And that's a young player, similar to Norris on the Dallas side. He's going to have to carry that the rest of the way.
Yeah, sort of the better comp in my mind for Norris is Jake Davis, because he's their utility guy, sort of the way Nolan Norris is evolving. And I like Jake Davis a lot. I really like him better as a central midfielder, although he can't play right back really well.
Long ball from Postgame, brought down comfortably by Uragide. Finds Ramiro, bounces it over to Abiaga, through the lines to find Leggett, who hasn't seen a ton of the ball tonight. First time through ball, looking for Leo Chu. Leo Chu had possession of it, and then he was whistled for a foul. A lot of whistles going against Dallas tonight in the opening 25 minutes. It's the latest as Ndembe's down on the ground.
I could have seen that one going either way. You know, Ramiro, I thought, played a really good through ball there. I think Leo Chu, if he's just a little quicker to recognize the moment, he's off to the races. Because I think Ramiro had a really nice lane open up for him, and he saw it. Chu just didn't see it quite early enough. I think you just got to look at that replay. I didn't catch it early enough.
I didn't either. I was on the turn right before it showed up.
Yeah, we'll both be better about scanning our shoulders there.
Xavi would not be proud of us
No.
here in the booth. Scoreless here between Dallas and Kansas City. 26 minutes gone. We'll restart play with Polskamp, the Kansas City goalkeeper, going short to Rosero. Kansas City, majority of possession. Dallas probably with the best chance of the game for Petar Musa. Came really out of nothing following a corner kick. Garcia spreads it to the far side, and Dembe, the Belgian, will bring it forward.
I referenced that game against that championship game against Miami a while ago, and that's exactly what happened. Miami was just absolutely ruthless in front of goal when they had their 2 or 3 chances early.
Suleimanov again from the near side. Delgado defending, goes back for Jake Davis. Cycle it through Bartlett here. Bartlett plays that one straight out of play. That was a welcome to MLS moment there.
Well, that was Lucho Acosta being very clever there. He sort of changes his run at the last minute. I think it confused, as he tried to pressure Bartlett, I think it confused the young player. He played the ball right out of bounds.
Bartlett's most recent action was with Kansas City 2 against the Des Moines Menace in the Open Cup. That was a fun one. Some former Dallas greats, Victor Ulloa, Matt Hedges, Dax McCarty with the Menace for this Open Cup run. Here's Lucho Acosta. Nice ball off the outside of the right foot. Finds Shaq Moore. A lot of green grass for him to run into. Low cross, sent in. Nobody there. Appeals for a corner, waved away. It's going to be a goal kick, but a real moment there for Dallas on the counter.
Oh, it's just a really sweet ball from Lucho Acosta. Leo Chu sort of turned around. He thought it was for him and had been played behind him, and he turns around and he says, oh, wait, there's Shaq Moore behind me.
It's sort of a shot cross, looking for Lucho, who was just a couple steps behind, reaching it.
Yeah, near post run happening there from Leggett as well. think if he takes a little bit of pace off that and just makes it a pass instead of a cross, one of those FC Dallas players probably gets to it.
Dallas back in their defensive shape now. Delgado putting the pressure on Jake Davis, and Delgado comes away with the ball, and Davis whistled for a foul, taking quickly to Ramiro, who didn't really have any options on.
No, he didn't.
And he had to turn and play back to Urquide.
It's okay to take a quick free kick. That's great, in fact, but you don't want to put your player under immediate pressure.
Acosta standing out on the near side touchline. Once it switched out as Ramiro is across with Shaq Moore. Only a couple moments between the lines for Lucho Acosta so far tonight as he's in conversation with Eric Quill. Looking for his first moment here on home soil, his new home. Both his goals coming on the road, and he's one away from a milestone as well, to become the 7th player to reach 75 goals and assists in regular season play.
Right, I feel like the first 15 minutes, Kansas City really had total control. I think since then it's been a fairly even match.
Here's Acosta, first time ball in behind, looking for Delgado, who wasn't on the same page there. Miller picks it up and goes back to Postgame.
Delgado, just like Chua a while ago, I think if he recognizes the moment a little quicker and just starts a run, Acosta can find him there.
Loose ball there from Rosero out of the back. Leo Chu's onto it now. Leo Chu shot from distance and didn't get much behind that. Dragged it wide to the near post. You can join us at Toyota Stadium in 2 weeks when FC Dallas hosts the Seattle Sounders and Jesus Ferreira returns home. You can be here for what will be an electric night against the Sounders. For tickets and more information, please visit fcdallastickets.com.
It's not a totally fair statement what I'm about to say, but because Leo Chu isn't really playing in his more natural position, but you know, a couple of times tonight he's had a chance to make a different decision or make an earlier run, and he's got to take advantage of this situation. You know, he's got to start tonight, second in a row, but Anderson Julio's back in country now with his green card, and Leo Chu really has to find more ways to impact the game in the final third.
And of course his fate and sort of the evaluation of how he plays will be forever linked to Jesus Ferreira, who went the other way in the trade. Life hasn't got off to a great start for Jesus in the Pacific Northwest either. That's the long ball from Martin Paz, headed out of play by Kansas City, right in front of Eric Quill.
Yeah, they've got De La Vega, Jordan Morris, and Paul Arriola all out right now, so Ferreira's got to start performing up there.
Ramiro fouls Manu Garcia in the middle.
It seems to me like Fortis Pizzacos has a pretty low bar for a foul tonight, so players just have to recognize that.
Plenty whistled early on. As we're over a third of the way through the action tonight, still scoreless here on the FC Dallas Radio Network. Jacob Bartlett on the ball, swings it across for Kyrie Shelton. Nice zip on the pass there from the young midfielder. Suleimanov, both he and Garcia coming from the same club in Greece. And a rare two-player purchase for Kansas City. And Dembe on the far side, back off for Manu Garcia. Designated player switching the field. Finds Suleimanov, former teammates and current teammates. Suleimanov onto his left foot, his favored left foot. Curling ball towards the back post. Shallowy all alone. Shallowy brings it down and scores, as he does against FC Dallas.
Shallowy given a little too much room over there on the backside. Dallas affording a little too much room to Sporting Kansas City, a team that hasn't scored a lot this year. And, you know, you guys spent a lot of the pregame worried about Daniel Shallowy, and I spent a lot of the pregame making fun of you for it. But doggone if you weren't right, because he took a nice ball out of the air, settles it on his thigh, doesn't let the ball touch the ground, and just pushes it at the far post right past Martin Paz from close range. Somebody misses a marking assignment over there. Shaq Moore trying to close him down, but too much room there.
Shallowy, just his second start of the season, wearing the armband tonight for Sporting Kansas City. In his 10th season, now has 11 goals against FC Dallas.
It's a nice finish, too.
33 minutes in, Dallas need a response now at home.
I mean, that's the finish that, if we're being honest, that's the finish Dallas needed from Musa a while ago.
Garcia Ball forward as Dallas lost possession off the kickoff. Another ball intended for Shallowy. Goes all the way through for Martin Pass, who, after getting the clean sheet for Indonesia, is not going to get a clean sheet tonight for Dallas, as that run continues for their number one. The last 3 clean sheets for FC Dallas were with Jimmy Maurer and Michael Collodi. And Leggett, who was harried the whole way by Jake Davis, doesn't get a foul, and now he does. Delayed whistle, as the referee, I think, realized he's been calling that foul all night. And a ball in behind immediately from the free kick for Musa. He chases it towards the corner flag. Able to retrieve possession, now finds Nolan Norris, making his way forward up the left side. Ball intended for Leo Chu. Second ball cannons off of Lucho Acosta. And then Kansas City clear their lines now with a lead to defend.
Dallas just can't make the connections with Leo Chu, several players.
Acosta goes down, holding his face. Davis pleading innocence. Referee, I don't think he even took a look at Lucho Acosta. As Kansas City switches it through their goalkeeper, now over to Ndimbe on the far side. Dallas substitutes sent down to warm up, down to our right. Looks like Leggett and Delgado have switched sides in the midfield diamond, at least in the run of play here. Joveljic, rare touch for him. No pressure on the ball. He switches it across. Now for Suleimanov, 2v1 against Nolan Norris. Suleimanov onto his left foot, shot towards the near post, but he didn't get much behind it. Martin Potts able to make the save.
I mean, I'm just looking behind the ball, Ryan. Leo Chu, Delgado, Musa, Acosta, they're all jogging back. That's not a dog. You know, you've got to get numbers back behind the ball.
And that was the vision behind the formation, was to have that extra man defending. At least on that time, Delgado floating away from the play.
The other thing I'm seeing is when Dallas has the ball, Delgado and Leggett are both getting very wide, and it's sort of creating that mismatch in the middle again.
Here's a ball in behind. Leo Chu gives chase, beats Rosero to the ball. Rosero sliding tackle to recover. And it hasn't been a good half for Leo Chu. 35 minutes in, loses possession that time. Now Kansas City switch the field back to the near side for Davis. Suleimanov finds Shelton. Shelton wanted the foul. Referee plays advantage with Bartlett. Frustrating thing for me, Steve, is that honestly, if we're being honest, the Kansas City center backs aren't to the standard of an MLS starting duo, and they've had a couple of loose touches and loose passes. But it's been the Dallas center backs who've been under pressure tonight. Dallas unable to really put any pressure high up the field.
Yeah, I agree. I think Jansen Miller is going to be a pretty good player. Just young.
He's got it here. Out to Kyrie Shelton in the midfield for Bartlett. First time ball finds Suleimanov. And now Jake Davis from the right side. Switching ball out to Shallowy. Again, a lot of space for him. This time a lot further from goal. As the Dallas supporter section trying to get behind their team here. Loose back pass again. This time intercepted by Lucho Acosta in the center circle. He's up front all on his own. Musa now joining in. Acosta through ball finds Musa. Skips past Rosero, edge of the 18. Musa checks back for Lucho Acosta, and Acosta scores. A two-man break pays dividends for Dallas, and they're back even.
All right, it was a two-man break, and you just wondered which one was going to take the shot. Wasn't sure for a minute. Peter Musa dribbled into a little bit of a bad angle along the right side. Plays a nice little ball back for Lucho Acosta. Still looking for a goal this year that FC Dallas scores that Peter Musa doesn't have a direct at least an indirect contribution to. This one again is he just plays a little 3-yard ball back to Lucho Acosta, who's standing right around the 12. He deposits that ball side net far post. 1-1.
And for Dallas, that's a little bit of a get-out-of-jail-free card there. I think it was Garcia with the loose pass intercepted by Lucho, who finished it off at the other end. And we've got a new ball game here in the 38th minute.
I mean, you call it a loose pass, it just went right to Lucho Acosta. It's a terrible pass.
Reminded me of the Austin game last year when Driussi just passed it right to Peter Musa to score. Acosta again went down holding his face after he thought he was caught by a stray arm. Again, the referee waves him up.
Yeah, that was Miller. And Acosta is small.
Here's a ball over the top from Uriguide. Nice weight on it for Sebastian Leggett with the run out of midfield. He's holding off Miller. Miller now wrong side of Leggett. Leggett up the inline, cut back cross towards Leo Chu. Oh, Leo Chu, it's 2 in 2 minutes. Two of the new boys striking for Dallas here in the first half.
Well, it was Leo Chu from close range, but that ball is all Sebastian Leggett as he runs onto a ball down the left side, and he's holding off a much bigger player there in that young Jansen Miller. Then he dribbles in, a little outside of the foot as he dribbles that inline, finds Leo Chu, settles it with one touch. Peter Musa wants to pass back to him, but Leo Chu says, you know what, I've got this one. Roofs it from close range.
First signature moment in Dallas colors for Leo Chu. And that one was all Sebastian L. If you watched on the social media this week, the intensity of Sebastian L coming through there. Nice work off the secondary assist, which should be given to Osazi Uriguide with the ball over the top. And Dallas have turned the deficit into a lead here in the space of just 3 minutes.
It was a good ball from Uriguide. I don't know if he's going to get the assist because there was quite a bit of dribbling there on Leggett's part, so we'll see about that. But it was a good ball over the top. Lucho Acosta, by the way, really smart there as he was still down and in an offside position, but recognizing that Leggett could probably get to the ball, he just sort of walks back and makes sure he doesn't make himself active in the play.
Nice work there from Norris, biting into a tackle against Suleimanov to win back possession off the kickoff. And you wonder if Kansas City has the resilience now to fight back after the run that they've been on. Does it become, here we go again for Vermees in Kansas City? We've got 5 minutes here until the half to try and find a response.
It's been the story of the season for Kansas City. They look pretty good. They score a goal, and then all of a sudden they make a couple of mistakes, and they're down. And that's the thing, you know. You talk about them having good pieces, but you can't be a good team. You can't say we're a good team, but we just make some mistakes. Good teams don't make mistakes, and Dallas has been able to punish a couple of them now.
Now 5 minutes plus stoppage time away from taking a lead into the halftime break.
That said, by the way, Dallas still has to clean it up a little bit on the defensive side.
Dallas unbeaten in 22 games when leading at halftime. That goes back to May 2022. And that's the situation here. As we're in the final 5 minutes of the opening frame, Martin Paas gets us back going with a goal kick as the pyro and the smoke still lingering in the air from those back-to-back Dallas goals. That one from Martin Paas over the head of Nolan Norris. Turns it over for a Kansas City throw.
Martin Paas is going to keep the job over Michael Colodi, but that's the one thing that Colodi really has. You know, his passing out of the back was so good last week, and that's how Martin Paas just overcooking that one intended for Nolan Norris.
Here's Shallowy, the goal scorer for Kansas City, on the far side. Cuts onto his right foot, finds Jake Davis centrally, switched over now to Suleimanov. Matched up with Nolan Norris, 1v1. Suleimanov to the byline, gets the right-footed cross in, defended by Uriguide, out for a throw.
Uriguide doing a good job of making sure he doesn't give up the corner kick out of that one, just pushes it right back for the throw in.
Jake Davis receives it from the throw, first time cross, headed away by Ramiro. Musa got a foot to it, appeals for a handball not given against Bartlett. .42nd minute, Dallas in front 2-1. And absorbing some pressure here from Kansas City. Garcia back heel finds Ndembe, now Joveljic, top of the box, set back for Davis. Flag goes up belatedly. And that will bring it into the Kansas City attack.
You know, a minute ago, Ryan, I was going to ask you why Dejan Joveljic wasn't playing tonight.
He hasn't been involved. I mean,
I really think that might have been the first time you called his name tonight.
He had one moment sort of dribbling through the center circle that I can remember, and that's it. I mean, this is a guy that scored 6 goals and 2 assists in 5 playoff games for the LA Galaxy last year. He's sort of really feeling the effects of losing this type of service that he got in LA with Painsil and Peck and Ricky Pooch.
I mean, they've had some pretty good moments tonight here and there, but by and large, it's the same old story with Kansas City. That really good at moving the ball into the final third, and then it just sort of breaks down from there. A lot of crosses, though, just like this.
And Dembe tries an early cross. It cannons off Leggett, out for a throw, 10 yards from the corner flag on the far side. I think even with the lead, Eric Quill is going to be far from happy with his team at halftime. Adjustments to be made. Jovic receives it from the throw, can't return it to Ndimbe cleanly. Breaks back for Shallowy instead. Switching over through Jansen Miller to Shelton. Shelton in the middle of the field for Davis. Davis goes down, one of the foul not given against Lucho Acosta. Now here's Leo Chu, some space for him through the middle third. Gets his head up, finds Lucho Acosta at the left side. Overlapping run comes from Nolan Norris. Norris, first time ball looking for Leo Chu. That bounces out of play for a throw-in. Ball in hand here for Nolan Norris in the final minute of the first half, pending stoppage time. Ramiro into Patrickson, back to Abiaga. Dallas switching it now from left to right. Shaq Moore receives it on the far side. Leggett checks short, the architect of the latest Dallas goal. Ramiro again through Leggett, finds Leo Chu. Out to Shaq Moore, back to Ramiro. Dallas finally getting the ball, popping around with some pace here. And then Patrickson with a loose pass that'll have to be retrieved by Nolan Norris. Plays it down the line for Lucho Acosta. Immediately under pressure from Shelton. Shelton shoved in the back. And the whistle goes against the Kansas City right back. Acosta with no intent with anything other than to win the foul there. He knew the contact was coming.
I would say he was trying to shield the ball. He did get two hands in the back.
I didn't say it was a bad thing. Acosta with his goal, moving into the 75-75 club tonight. 7th player all time in MLS to do that. And I don't think he's done tonight either. 2 minutes added on here. Stoppage time in the first half. Musa finds Acosta in the middle third. Out wide for Nolan Norris. Norris tries to return it to Acosta, but he sees two Kansas City bodies there and loses possession, but it's back with Musa now. Musa turns past one, turns past two, just using his strength, but then again runs into one too many Kansas City players and loses possession 30 seconds into stoppage time. And a couple of times, Lucho Musa switching off once the play's gone, and then Kansas City almost commits a gaff at the back, and if they'd been a little bit more alive to the danger, they might have had a chance. Sorgide is going to slice a clearance, headed further clear by Shaq Moore. Final minute of first half stoppage time. Dallas defending a 2-1 lead. Suleimanov with it here on the near side. Two Dallas defenders, Delgado and Norris, force it back to Kyrie Shelton. And then Sebastian Leggett just caught a stray arm from Suleimanov, and the yellow card immediately out of the pocket of the referee. But he's not walking over towards the Kansas City player. He's walking over to Eric Quill. And I think Eric Quill is going to pick up his first booking as the manager of FC Dallas here.
I think you said Leggett. It's Acosta that's down on the ground again. He's taken it to the head or face 3 times now.
That's the first time it's been called.
It's kind of weird when two is off the ball.
Acosta standing at 5'3". His head is often where the arms are. And he took the brunt of that one as Martin Poss launches it long. We'll play a little bit past the 2 added on minutes here. But only a few seconds pass as Dallas takes a 2-1 lead into the halftime break. Goals from Lucho Acosta and Leo Chu in response to a Kansas City goal from who else but Daniel Shallowy. We'll talk about it on the halftime show as Dallas has fought back from behind to lead here. 15 minutes of halftime. We'll be back in action, but the halftime show is coming up here on the FC Dallas Radio Network.
So, what'd you do this weekend?
Well, just took the Tacoma off-road, deep into the woods, got to this hidden campsite only it could reach.
Nice. I hooked up the boat to the Tundra and hit up the lake. Towed it like a pro. Had the whole lake to ourselves.
Hey, wait, did I mention I went rock climbing too? Yeah, thanks to the Tacoma's crawl control.
Well, sounds like we both had fun weekends.
Mine was better.
The Toyota Tundra and Tacoma are built for all the fun. Test drive at your local Toyota dealer or visit Toyota.com today. Toyota, let's go places. Feature availability differs based on trim. See Toyota.com for details.
UT Southwestern Medical Center in Dallas, Texas, where discoveries change lives. The spark of collaboration that fuels bold thinking in our labs. The spark of inspiration that motivates greatness in the next generation. And the spark of innovation that pushes the boundaries of today's care. At UT Southwestern, teamwork and talent combine to fuel discovery, education, and healing. UT Southwestern, the future of medicine sparks here.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Hi everyone, it's Marco Farfan, and you're listening to FC Dallas Soccer on the FC Dallas app.
After 45 plus at Toyota Stadium, it's FC Dallas 2, Sporting Kansas City 1, as the Toros look for their first win at Toyota Stadium in 2025. Hello everybody, it is the FC Dallas Halftime Show, brought to you tonight by your local Toyota dealer, Toyota. Let's go places. Also brought to you this evening by AdvoCare, building champions together. I'm your host, Sam Hale. I'll be joined in just a moment by our halftime team, the FC Dallas insider Garrett Meltzer and Steve Davis. But first, let's start with our halftime highlights. It was a low light for Dallas in the 32nd minute when who else but Daniel Shallowy scores. He puts Kansas City up top 1-0 after a nice piece of work from Shapé Suleimanov. But then it was 5 minutes later when who else but Lucho Acosta would level the score.
Loose back pass again, this time intercepted by Lucho Acosta in the center circle. He's up front all on his own. Musa now joining in. Acosta through ball finds Musa. Skips past Rosero, edge of the 18. Musa checks back for Lucho Acosta, and Acosta scores. A two-man break pays dividends for Dallas, and they're back even.
Acosta's 75th goal in MLS makes him the 7th player in history with 75 goals and 75 assists. That made it 1-1 Dallas, but it wouldn't stay that way for long, as 2 minutes later, a Dallas player would open their account.
Here's a ball at the top from Uriguide. Nice weight on it for Sebastian Lletget with the run out of midfield. He's holding off Miller. Miller now wrong side of Lletget. Lletget up the end line. Cut back cross towards Leo Chu. Oh, Leo Chu. It's 2 in 2 minutes. Two of the new boys striking for Dallas here in the first half.
Leo Chu's first goal in FC Dallas colors and first of 2025 made it 2-1, which is our score at the break. Let's get you our halftime stats, which this evening are brought to you by UMB Bank. Kansas City leads the possession battle 55-45. Dallas leads on shots 6-5, but the squads are equal on shots on goal 2-all. You got 4 corners for Kansas City, 1 for FCD. Kansas City's been offsides twice, Dallas just once. 1 save for Martin Paas, no saves for John Pulskamp. 7 fouls for each side, 1 yellow card for each side. But that does not count the what we believe to be yellow card to Eric Quill, who picks up his first of the season on the FC Dallas touchline. And we bring in our halftime crew here, Garrett Meltzer and Steve Davis. And Garrett, I'll start with you. We had a whole different halftime show planned. And then in the 37th and 39th minute, Dallas takes the lead 2-0. Even despite that, what do you think about the first 45 minutes or so for FCD?
Yeah, it was a little bit disjointed, I thought, for the first 35 minutes or so. I thought SKC really had the better of the play, worked Martin Paas a few times here and there. And I thought Dallas were at their best when they were pressing high. And that's actually how they got the first goal, pretty much. But I would say that Dallas defending crosses, it's just, time and again, it's such a problem. And on the SKC goal, I mean, Shaq Moore has got to do better, because I know Steve said he wasn't afraid of Daniel Shallowy before kickoff. I said I was afraid of Daniel Shallowy because he scored about 20% of his goals career against FC Dallas, and it's a great finish from him. But goals change games, and this time it happened to be a conceding goal that changed the game, because right after that, Dallas went on the front foot and just looked 10 times better.
And Steve, we saw early in the game, specifically Kansas City got a lot of their early advantage by pressing up high on Dallas, specifically pressing on that left side, that Nolan Norris side. And it took Dallas really starting to get some switching balls for them to get anywhere in the game, but Kansas City did take advantage of it.
Look, Sporting Kansas City, every time I've seen them this year, except for last week when they got sort of run by LAFC, they look like a good team in terms of possession, in terms of pretty good defending. pretty good and active in midfield. Really good at moving the ball from 18 to 18, and then it all sort of breaks down from there. But as Garrett just said, Dallas just has to clean up some of the marking, and I'm not even sure if it's on Shaq Moore on that one. I guess, but Shaq Moore's tucked in inside. I have to sort of watch the whole sequence again to figure out how shallowy. It may not be that it's up to Shaq Moore to track shallowy, because he needs to have a little bit of help over there at some point. So something broke down in there, and Shallowy ends up. It's a really good finish. He takes the ball off his thigh. It doesn't even hit the ground before he deposits it from close range. It's not really an easy sequence for him, but he can't give somebody that much room inside the penalty area. In fact, that was his third touch inside the penalty area. So Dallas, as I said, good that they got 2 goals. Got to clean some things up on the defense.
And, Steve, you mentioned it during the broadcast. I wanted to follow up with it about how it seemed like the team was almost split in half defensively. You'd have that back 4 plus Ramiro hustling back. But then you mentioned guys like Musa, Lucho. When it came to getting transition and move backwards, they weren't moving with that speed. And as a result, Dallas got caught a couple times where it could have been a lot worse.
I remember a moment in the Vancouver game. Vancouver was so well organized behind the ball, but there was a moment where Dallas broke them. And all of a sudden you see 10 white shirts flooding back. Everybody's on a dead sprint. And, I get it. Every now and then, you have a striker he's not, Peter Musa's not going to sprint back every time. Acosta's not going to sprint back every time. Leo Chu's not going to sprint back every time. Even Delgado's not going to sprint back every time. But doggone it, you can't have 4 of them just sort of jogging back behind the play, hoping everybody else does the job. That's not what Eric Quill wants, and I'm sure he's having a word with him about that.
And considering how much he was gesticulating on the touchline there, I'm sure that's continuing in the locker room. Well, let's bring the vibe up a little bit here, Garrett. We did get 2 pretty spectacular goals, so I'll let you you get first pick here. What were you more impressed with, Lucho Acosta picking a pocket or Leo Chu opening his account here in Dallas?
I think the second goal, because I really enjoyed that sequence. I mean, on the first, it's all Lucho and Musa. We know how talented they are and how their partnership is beginning to grow. But on the second one, it starts with a long ball from Osaze Urugide. And look, this is something that Dallas has missed for quite a while. I mean, going back to someone like Reto Ziegler, who could hit a great crossfield ball. Urugide put that right in the space for Sebastian Lletget, who made a great run. And it's got to be a good ball, because Sebastian Lletget is not the fastest player that he once was. But he did so well, Lletget did. He beat the man, then fought off the challenge, and then while falling was able to get the ball right to Leo Chu's feet, and then a good turn and finish as well. So I just really enjoyed the whole sequence, because that kind of goal, that's what Eric Quill wants. It's quick, it's back to front, it's counterattacking, and it was just good all around.
It seems like every time we talk about Sebastian Lletget, what we bring up is that he's nice and tidy on the ball. He's making good choices in the midfield, and all that is absolutely true. But in that moment, it wasn't about being tidy on the ball. It was just about will and want to, a little bit of speed, as you said, strength, holding off the player. It was really just desire to stay in front of Jensen Miller there and sort of hold off the bigger center back as he was out in space and take advantage of that moment. And that's exactly what Lletget did in terms of getting the ball to Leo Chu. Also nice that, last week Sebastian Lletget put himself in good spots to score himself twice, and if not for a really good night from the RSL goalkeeper Cabral, Rafa Cabral, who's done really well, Sebastian Lletget's got a goal last week, or maybe has 2 goals, but the 2 best saves of the night from Cabral were against Lletget, so nice to see him really make an important moment there.
Yeah, I can go ahead and tease for the post-game show. Osaze Urugide and Sebastian Lletget at this pace will probably feature decently prominently. Well, let's look at the second half here, because Dallas has an interesting quandary in front of them. They don't have a home win this year, and one of the guys that coming into the half we thought maybe Dallas would want to change out would be Leo Chu, but he has one of this big emotional moment. So, Steve, I'll start here with you. As we look towards second half strategy, what are you looking for, be it tactical or personnel-wise, that Eric Quill needs to get this one across the line?
We have this sometimes, and we've talked about it a couple of times last year, a couple of times even this year, where a player isn't really having a great night, and then he scores a goal. So it really does put the coach in sort of a weird situation, because I'm seeing Leo Chu with 15 touches, and it's not a whole lot. He hasn't really done a lot with the ball. There's 3 different players for FC Dallas that miss connections with Chu, and at some point you wonder, well, is it Chu that's not reading them? But then it comes up with right now, what's the go-ahead goal? So I expect to see him come back, especially because we know that Eric Quill isn't really a man to change at halftime. That's a little bit of an insult to the player maybe. So I expect to see him back out there. But I think he's got 15 minutes to really maybe do a little bit more and find more ways to get in the match. Otherwise, we're probably going to see maybe Logan Farrington, maybe Bernie Kamungo.
Garrett, what do you see in the next 45 as Dallas looks for their first home win of the season?
I mean, I agree with Steve. I wouldn't expect any personnel changes. Maybe tactically, I think Dallas, every time they pressed high, SKC looked quite worried and didn't play out of that very well. We know they're a possession team, but when Dallas was kind of camped out on the top of their box, pinning them in, they looked a little shaky back there. So I think if you're going to get a third goal, you don't want to defend a one-goal lead for 45 minutes, especially not at home.
Excuse me, Garrett. I thought you were done. What I would say is that they have to make sure they keep the press together. It's one of the first things, one of the first tenets that Eric Quill wanted to emphasize this year, which is keeping the team together. Because there were a couple of times tonight where the front three press, the midfield doesn't press behind them, and it's just too easy at that point. So if they're going to press, they got to press together. If they're not going to press, great. Drop back and all defend together.
Well, it's a big moment here for Eric Quill and FC Dallas. They lead Sporting Kansas City 2-1 at the halftime break. Goals from Lucho Acosta and Leo Chu have them out front. That's going to do it for the halftime show. When we return, Ryan and Steve will get you ready for the second half of action here from Toyota Stadium. This is FC Dallas Soccer presented by Toyota on the FC Dallas Radio Network.
UT Southwestern Medical Center in Dallas, Texas, where discoveries change lives. The spark of collaboration that fuels bold thinking in our labs. The spark of inspiration that motivates greatness in the next generation. And the spark of innovation that pushes the boundaries of today's care. At UT Southwestern, teamwork and talent combine to fuel discovery, education, and healing. UT Southwestern, the future of medicine sparks here.
Welcome to the world of WinStar, the casino of FC Dallas, where 10,000 electronic games plus roulette, craps, and blackjack is just the beginning. Get lost in our 2-story luxury spa. Enjoy 36 holes of championship golf and catch the biggest names in music and comedy at the spectacular Lucas Oil Live, all just 1 hour north of DFW. So come live in the wow at the world of WinStar.
Want to hear something incredible? That's Eleanor. Just 10 hours after being born, Eleanor was airlifted to Children's Health and met by our expert team trained in cardiac and critical care. At 4 days old, she received a stent to help her heart pump blood to the rest of her body. And today, she's a happy, healthy 1-year-old. That's incredible. That's Children's Health. Incredible together.
So, what'd you do this weekend?
Well, just took the Tacoma off-road, deep into the woods, got to this hidden campsite only it could reach.
Nice. I hooked up the boat to the Tundra and hit up the lake. Towed it like a pro. Had the whole lake to ourselves.
Hey, wait, did I mention I went rock climbing too? Yeah, thanks to the Tacoma's crawl control.
Well, sounds like we both had fun weekends.
Mine was better.
The Toyota Tundra and Tacoma are built for all the fun. Test drive at your local Toyota dealer or visit Toyota.com today. Toyota, let's go places. Feature availability differs based on trim. See Toyota.com for details.
Hi everyone, it's Paxton Palmacall, and you're listening to FC Dallas Soccer on the FC Dallas app.
2-1 FC Dallas coming out of the halftime break here on the FC Dallas Radio Network. Both teams making their way out of the locker rooms down to our right in the south end under the shadow of the National Soccer Hall of Fame. Steve, Sporting Kansas City controlling a lot of the action in the first half, but Dallas's individual quality is striking through on the break a couple of times, a couple of giveaways from Kansas City. What do you expect the message was, particularly on the Dallas side from Eric Quill at halftime?
Maybe the message is something like, let's make sure we're a little bit more active in the midfield, close down some of those switching opportunities, because that switching ball is hurting FC Dallas a little bit right now. It's a way that Kansas City is able to sort of get into the final third. They're not really getting in through the middle at all, but they are getting in through the wings. If you can be a little bit more active in the midfield, close those guys down a little bit quicker, maybe you shut out some of the service of those switching balls.
No changes personnel-wise on either side coming out of the halftime break. Peter Vermees in his 17th season in charge, over 500 regular season games under his belt. Eric Quill, 5 regular season games under his belt. A huge disparity in coaching experience for two guys who were teammates with the Kansas City Wizards back in 2004. Good friends off the field, doing battle on either touchline tonight. Vermees side with the early blow. Dallas answering back through Lucho and Leo Chu. And we are back underway with 45 minutes to go. And Dallas with a lead to defend. Immediately going long out towards Nolan Norris is Kansas City. Norris wins the header.
For me, he's always with the suit, too. Even on the hottest days, he's in that full coat and tie over there.
He'll be comfortable tonight as we've slipped into the low 70s. A perfect night here in Frisco. Long ball from Martin Paas. Aerial duel there, won by Ndimbe, but he can't keep it in play. Battling with Leggett. A couple of times in the first half, Martin Paas not on point with those diagonals. That one with decent weight on it. And Dallas has a throw. Throw looking for Musa. Header won by Ndimbe, but breaks for Patrickson through the middle. And heavy touch from Patrickson. Ball won back there by Shelton. Now switching the play to the near side for Shallowy. Shaq Moore defending. He's got a yellow card from the first half. Here's Garcia. Low cross poked in. Second effort at the cross. Now third effort from Shallowy. That one skews through everybody. And it's tracked down by Jake Davis. Far from goal on the far side.
Again, Kansas City getting numbers forward quickly, and Dallas not getting back very quickly. 5 blue shirts, 5 red shirts in the penalty area. I counted that time. You want more on defense.
Here's Shallowy between the lines, closed down by Ramiro. Finds Joveljic, top of the box, looking to return it to Shallowy. Joveljic goes down. Don't see much in that. Referee waves anything away. Lucho Acosta, loose pass. It's out for a Kansas City throw on the near side. And just like in the first half, Kansas City coming out with some good intensity in the opening couple of minutes. And they will hold to check for any potential contact in the area against Joveljic.
Yeah, I didn't really even see a big appeal there from Sporting Kansas City players. By the way, Roger Espinosa sitting over here to my right.
He's on the coaching staff. Yeah, I actually helped him with some directions down to the locker room at halftime.
Did he foul you?
He didn't. I was on alert. I was on high alert.
Terrific player in all his years. Honduran international. Spent some time in England. But he's a tough character.
Switching ball from Miller out to the near side, and Ndimbe has made his way forward. The left back, Leo Chu, back defending. Leo Chu got a foot to it, but it breaks for Shallowy inside the 18. Norris stooping low to send that one behind for a corner. Leo Chu attentive to his defensive duties there, but just a loose touch inside his own box.
But again, it's a switching ball that finds a player isolated out there that gets all of that started. That time it's Ndimbe that gets forward, and he's just got all kinds of time once he gets that switching ball out there.
Jake Davis will have a corner kick. They had a flurry of corner kicks in the opening 20 minutes. This is the first one since then. 2 arms raised, and swinger towards the back post. Volleyed clear by Shaq Moore. Out for a throw on the far side. Shelton's made his way across to take it. Interestingly, I don't think you would have any other team expected to have a Hoosier and a Oregon State Beaver on the field other than FC Dallas league-wide, but that's what Kansas City has tonight with Miller and Shelton. Just goes to show the quality of those two programs, the amount of pros that they've produced. Bartlett, product of the Kansas City Academy via Notre Dame. A loose pass there, straight out of play. That'll be a Shaq Moore throw. Ball sent ahead for Leggett to flick on, and Leggett shoulders one challenge. Strong tackle from Rosero. We play on. Referee plays advantage. Leo Chu up the near side touchline. I don't think there was much of an advantage there for Dallas. Now they've got 4 players here within 10 yards of the touchline. They've got to track back.
Leo Chu did have possession, but he just dribbled right toward Peter Musa.
Possession now with Kansas City. The Jets been in the battle tonight, certainly. He's got the assist on the go-ahead goal. Showing some good physicality in midfield tonight. 32-year-old former U.S. international. Kansas City trying to attack the current U.S. Youth International, U20 captain in Nolan Norris. He's able to win it back, but then a loose pass from the Dallas homegrown. Presents it back to Kansas City with a throw. First time ball from Joveljic ahead for Solimanov, who went down looking for a foul. Nothing given. And now Norris will just put his foot through it up towards Musa. Musa wins the header, knocking it down towards Leo Chu. And Ndimbe shoulder in the back of Leo Chu, and he commits a foul. some elasticity in Leo Chu there as he went flying. Grabbed his first Dallas goal in the first half. Spelling Anderson Julio, who we hope to have back as soon as next week. Dallas is on the road at Atlanta United, who seem to have found their attacking verve tonight with 4 goals coming from behind to win against New York City. Direct ball there looking for Musa, who's offside. Dallas going into a stretch of 4 out of 5 away from home. And in the past, you'd be a lot more concerned about that than you are maybe this season, although there's some big names coming up on the schedule. Atlanta, Miami, and Minnesota. Mono Garcia switching play near side to far. Shelton brings it down, finds Jake Davis. Out now to Solimanov. Russian winger is going to run at Patrickson Delgado here. Cuts onto his left foot. Now back to Jacob Bartlett, defensive midfielder tonight for Kansas City. Switching ball again, this time to the near side for Shallowy. Garcia looking for space between the lines. Musa back defending. Now Shallowy going to run at Shaq Moore up the left side towards the byline, cross in towards the back post. Joveljic got ahead to it, but Norris with a crucial block right on the doorstep. It was actually Solimanov with the header.
You know, Dallas' defensive structure, as Shaq Moore has to deal with 2 players over there. I'm just not sure. Is it Leo Chu? Is it Leggett on that side? I'm not sure who is supposed to be giving the support over there. Is it one of the center backs?
Ibiaga closed down there by Bartlett way up the field. Long ball from Ibiaga. Header won by Leo Chu. Now breaks for Lucho Acosta, middle of the field. Tries for a combination with Delgado. Too much weight on it from the Ecuadorian. Now Kansas City back in possession. Solimanov to Shelton on the overlap. Low cross deflected. Ibiaga stooping low, gets ahead to it. And now Uriguide with possession finds Ramiro. Some time at the top of his own box. Good work from Uriguide. Chopping past one. Now he's going to drive at the back line. Into the attacking half now. Leaves it off for Petar Musa. But under hits the pass. Not sure if Osazi's used to playing in those type of areas. There's a nice ball, though, from Petar Musa to find Lucho Acosta. Switching the play. Out to Shaq Moore. Up the near side. Shaq Moore going to run it in Dembe onto his left foot. Now cuts back to his right to the byline. Shaq Moore crossed towards the near post, but couldn't quite wrap his hips around it. It's behind for a goal kick.
I think he was trying to shoot there. If he was trying to cross, he really overcooked it there. I'm just not really sure. Maybe you're right. He just couldn't.
Well, David Martinez scored in a very similar manner.
He did.
Last week against John Postgame, so maybe something he saw on tape. Sort of a crossing area, just roofed it. Here's the ball out towards where Shaq Moore usually plays. Right now it's Leggett covering for him and doing well.
It was a great shot from Martinez. All those suspicions that maybe Postgame could have done a little better with it. You're right.
Martin Paz goes long. Musa tries to flick it on towards Leo Chu. Contact from Rosero, no foul. Dallas, not a lot of control even at home. Not a lot of possession against the Kansas City side, who is usually in the top 5 league-wide in that metric.
Yeah, not a big surprise. Dallas, wants to be a little bit more direct this year.
And so far, limiting touches inside the 18. Limiting Kansas City to well under an expected goal in the first half. As 2 changes on the way, both of them out of Oregon State for Dallas. The Seeking Sabling and Logan Farrington being stripped and ready to enter the action here in the 54th minute. Cross from the far side. Bounces all the way through. Retrieved by Ndimbe near the corner flag on the near side. Shaq Moore defending. Ndimbe into Joveljic, who's popping up wide here. And Ndimbe going to go for a right-footed shot. And that one way off target. But Shaq Moore motioning over to the bench, both arms raised. And I think, Steve, to your point, he's been put in a lot of really bad situations tonight, and he's dealt with it well. I mean, they've got to figure out a tweak.
I mean, on the plus side, Kansas City has had absolutely no attack through the middle, but they do overload the wings, and yeah, Dallas has to just figure out who's coming over to provide that second person support.
Ramiro on it in his own half here under some pressure. Lucho Acosta, nice flick to find Leo Chu ahead for Patrickson. Patrickson at the halfway line, returns it to Leo Chu. And a pass intended for Nolan Norris, just all kinds of underhit, and now Norris and Chu caught out. Numbers in the attack for Kansas City going the other way. Down the line for Shelton, low cross, deflected by Ramiro. Effort from the top of the box, blazed over the bar by Suleimanov. A let off there as Leo Chu gave it up in a bad spot, and I think he's about to be replaced in the wake of that mistake.
Yeah, the sloppiness there almost costing Dallas, and Suleimanov really should have done a little better as that ball bounced back out to him. And
I'll tell you what, it wasn't far away on the replay. That was inches high. Ended up much higher, but nearly found its way under the bar.
Dallas just really needed to be a little bit better with their structure back behind the ball.
Josiki and Sablang, who's come off the bench in every Dallas game so far this season, continues that streak. And Farrington enters as well. It is for Leo Chu. Both Dallas substitutes immediately bringing instruction to teammates on the field. I wonder if there's a change of shape here.
I mean, it almost looked to me like Dallas had gone into a 4-3-3. Chu was playing so wide out on the wing.
First touch for Farrington is a loose one. Coughs it up. In the defensive third, here's Jovic on the turn, edge of the 18. Out to Suleimanov. Volley clear by Nolan Norris. Musa backtracking, wins it back for Dallas, and now Leggett puts it in behind for Farrington to chase. He's got Rosero for company. Rosero all over Logan Farrington, who goes down. Easy decision there for the referee. And Logan Farrington tends to get a couple of those a game, doesn't he?
Yeah, it took about 15 seconds for him to really make an impact and draw on that first foul, and that's just what Logan Farrington does. He's active, he's around the ball, he makes things happen.
Well, Toyota Stadium is getting a makeover, from a brand new roof to cover every seat in the building to gorgeous new club spaces and a variety of new suites. Toyota Stadium set to become one of the finest venues in MLS. To learn more, you can visit newtoyotastadium.com. Acosta looking for Musa on a diagonal ball from the restart. Can't find the Croatian, but possession stays with Dallas. Now Uriguide and to Ramiro. Space for Ramiro in midfield. Finds the ball forward for Musa. Musa on the turn. Musa spreads it wide for Lucho Acosta. Farrington waits in the middle, but Acosta just lost his footing at the crucial moment there.
He had Farrington on the back post. He knew what he wanted to do, and he just slipped as he went to hit the ball across.
Farrington, 1 goal on the season, 1 goal partially disallowed as well out in Colorado. 1 goal here at Toyota Stadium, and that defeats Chicago. He was on the doorstep there. And I think as we see it here, Dallas defending in 4-4-2 with Farrington on the right and Sablang on the left. Shallowy on the left, overlap from Ndimbe, cross deflected, and Martin Poss covers it up at the near post.
And I think you're right, and I think that switch is to just create a little more clarity on who's going to get out there and be the second person on that right side to help Shaq Moore, and it's going to be Logan Farrington, and he's a good one because he'll put in the effort.
Martin Potts rolls it out to Shaq Moore, who finds Lucho Acosta. Ball ahead to Musa, but Musa can't hold on to it. Now Manu Garcia brings it forward for Kansas City. Switching it out to Suleimanov. Norris defending. His first action of the season, Nolan Norris.
I think he's done fine over there, too.
Had a really crucial block off the line here in the second half. Marco Farfan amongst the substitutes tonight as Dallas tries to manage his workload.
Yeah, I was just about to say, you do wonder if Marco Farfan might come in maybe in the last 10 minutes if Dallas is still holding the lead.
A little bit of an anomaly in that Nolan Norris has now made 5 MLS starts, and 3 of them have been against Kansas City. Home and away now. Last year, of course, Dallas had that double against Kansas City in the league and then Open Cup. They lost both, and their season really was over at that point. Some revenge maybe on the mind tonight. The new man in charge, and plenty of new names on the roster, 2 of which have got themselves on the score sheet tonight. Time for Jake Davis, who's going to lift this into the box. Header won by Shaq Moore. Out towards Logan Farrington, who retrieves it on the near side. And Dallas started the season in this type of defensive shape, 4-4-2. Had a lot more time on the grass with it. That's a nice ball there from Martin Paz. Spreads the play wide to Nolan Norris into Nsabling. Now Logan Farrington brings it across the halfway line. Right on the hour mark. Lucho Acosta from the right side. Ball into the box for Musa. Musa beaten to it by Postgame. Follow-up effort from Nsabling. Deflects wide. And a goal kick given instead. Dallas with a nice build-up there.
I think that's the exact attack that Eric Quill has in mind. He goes back to front in about 8 seconds. Lucho Acosta plays a really nice diagonal ball into Peter Musa. Maybe just a tiny bit too much weight on it. Otherwise, I think it's in the back of the net.
And now getting back defensively is Logan Farrington, defending shallowly and winning possession back from Jovalic and winning a foul from Jovalic. What an asset it is to bring Logan Farrington off your bench. Even in a wide position, not his natural role. There's so many things to help the team.
But one more time, cue the debate about whether he should be starting, because he's already found ways to impact the game that maybe Leo Chu just wasn't finding.
Nsabling, good work there under pressure from Shelton, 2 former Oregon State Beavers. Ramiro now on a foray forward up the left side, finds Lucho Acosta, ball in behind for Musa. Rosero gives chase. Musa gets there first, trying to turn past Rosero, but the Colombian there with the trailing leg able to win possession back.
Well, I thought Musa was passing with the chop there, with the old Preki chop, but Rosero just was able to leave that leg dangling out there long enough to knock it away.
Preki, former Kansas City Wizards legend. Nice name drop there of an MLS OG. And Dembe brings it forward for Preki's former club. Finds Shalloway up the left side, but Shaq Moore bites in with a tackle and puts it out for a throw on the near side. I grew up playing right back myself, so I always have a little bit of a soft spot for the right back, but I'm just so impressed by Shaq Moore. And we knew his quality, over 20 caps for the national team for a reason. Having to do some more defending here, forcing Shalloway back to Ndimbe. Rosero, the crucial intervention moments ago, otherwise this game might have a 4th goal via Peter Musa. Suleimanov chops onto his left foot. Nice ball into the area, but nobody attacking it for Kansas City. Shaq Moore didn't realize it, and he puts it behind for a corner.
I think that ball just got caught up in the wind a little bit because Shaq Moore ends up jumping a little early, and by the time he's understood that his jump has come early, all he can do is just head it back for the corner kick behind the goal.
That'll be a corner kick from the near side. Jake Davis, the designated in-swinging service all night tonight. Again, 2 arms raised. They attack the near post, right into the edge of the 6, and they got something on target there. I think it was Jansen Miller. Martin Paz able to comfortably catch it.
So Dallas right now needs to find a way to reassert control. It can be by getting the 3rd goal. It can be by just establishing a little bit more possession. It can be by maybe shutting down some of these crosses that are looking dangerous, some of these switching balls. But they need to find a way. That was one of our keys to the match. If they have a lead, got to find a way to keep control of the game. Don't lose control.
Norris, nobody really ahead of him. He launches it long out towards Musa. It's a ball that at the very least asks some questions. And Dembe tracking back to retrieve possession for Kansas City. Nice 1-2 with Garcia. And Farrington's now backtracking with Ndimbe, some space to run into. Wide for Shalloway. You're on the near side. Shalloway off the right foot, bending ball in towards Suleimanov. Overhit. Suleimanov retrieves it near the corner flag. Tries to go through the legs of Norris. I thought Norris won that cleanly, but he's whistled for a foul.
So all of that started, Ryan, when there's another moment where Dallas gets a little stretched. 2 or 3 players press. Nobody presses behind him. All of a sudden, Ndimbe's got the ball at the midfield stripe and is streaming forward. They've just got to be able to understand when the press is happening. Everybody needs to get forward, lock in a little bit more, or if they're not going to press, everybody has to drop back.
It's essentially going to be a corner kick, just a couple yards infield from the corner flag. Suleimanov, Jake Davis standing over it. 2 players in the Dallas wall, Nsabling and Acosta. A lot of targets for Kansas City as this one swing towards the back post. Shallowy wide of goal, just about keeps it alive. And then Bartlett.
But who's the furthest player forward there? Urugide. He's chasing that ball down.
This engine. Saw him already try and make a line-breaking dribble earlier in this half as well. Pretty successfully as well. Here's Jake Davis, wrong side of Ramiro from a Dallas perspective. Davis dribbling right to left. Left on the ground by a Leggett tackle, but he spreads it wide for Ndimbe. We play advantage. Manu Garcia, edge of the 18. Garcia defended by Leggett. Ball in behind for Ndimbe. And Shaq Moore gets his body in front. Got possession back, but then a loose pass there from Farrington put it out of play.
Yeah, he did make a good pass out there, but right now Logan Farrington is clearly the man that has to get back there and track, and Ndimbe is doing a good job of it too, so Dallas has solved that problem at least.
Kansas City try and build in this triangle up the left side. Garcia to Shallowy. Shallowy trying to return it to Garcia. But that's been how the Kansas City attack has gone. A little bit overhit and it runs through for a goal kick from Martin Paz. Well, if you can't get enough of FC Dallas content, check out the FC Dallas Agenda, our brand new podcast weekly on Wednesdays. We've got exclusive interviews with the likes of head coach Eric Quill and usually the player of the match of that previous week. Unparalleled access that FC Dallas fans want. You can get the latest episode of the FC Dallas Agenda every Wednesday as there's a coming together inside the 18 there. Urugide a little bit loose on the ball. Jovalic wanted a penalty, not given. And every time I read the FC Dallas Agenda promotion, something happens.
Well, don't read it.
It worked well in Houston. We scored a goal by Anderson Julio. They're checking for a potential penalty as Urugide was closed down by Jovalic, lost possession. And I didn't get a good enough look, maybe you did, Steve, of what then took place. But we will play on. No penalty.
Well, Urugide just took a bad touch and Jovalic picked his pocket. And then Jovalic really didn't take a good touch, and there's a little bit of contact there. And sort of Jovalic goes down pretty easily. Right now, Dallas not able to have any possession at all. And he can't really defend this deep for what's going to be 25 minutes.
Ball in behind for Ndimbe up the near side. Left-footed ball swung in. Ramiro intercepts the cross and then lifts it out to Logan Farrington on the near side. Farrington gets his head up, plays it down the line. Musa flicked along looking for Leggett, but Davis well positioned for Kansas City. No avenue to possession right now for Dallas. 68th minute. Home side in front 2-1. First half goals from Lucho Acosta and Leo Chu.
You wonder right now if this is a game where Show might come in, Kayike, because I think Dallas needs to be a little bit more defensively minded in the midfield, have a little bit more possession in there. I think Leggett and Ramiro might be a little tired.
Done a lot of running tonight, chasing those switching balls, and perhaps emblematic of that, Ramiro caught wrong side there and commits a foul. Picks up a yellow card as well.
Yeah, I think he's tired in there. Look at Bartlett, Jake Davis. They're young and they've got legs, and those two older midfielders have had to do a lot of running, just like you said.
Ramiro started every game now for Dallas. 390 minutes played of 450 possible so far coming into tonight. So I think he knew he was coming into a potential starting job. I don't know if he knew the workload that was ahead of him. Let's see if Dallas turns to their latest signing, Kayike, or last year's addition in the summer and show midfield options off the bench.
Kansas City readying a sub.
Jake Davis readies the free kick from the near side. Whistle goes as Urugide stayed down on the edge of the 18 before the ball was in play. Looks like Memo Rodriguez up and ready, the number 8 for Kansas City. Scored against Dallas last year. There's Davis from the near side, in swinging service, edge of the 6, flicked along. Martin Paz, strong hand away. Out to Suleimanov on the far side. He'll run at Ramiro. Into the 18 along the byline. Suleimanov chops back onto the left foot. Headed away by Uriguide off the cross. And sent clear by Lucho Acosta. We mentioned earlier Dallas attacking towards their fans in the south side, but they've hardly seen the ball in this half. Both Dallas goals coming in the first 45. Nice tackle there from Nsabalang. But then a mix-up with Logan Farrington, and again, it's straight out of play. Some afters between Davis and Nsabalang, as well as Memo Rodriguez does now enter the match. Attacking substitution as defensive midfielder and Bartlett is replaced by attacking midfielder and Memo Rodriguez.
I like Memo Rodriguez, but he's not as athletic as the two youngsters, so we'll see if that actually helps or hurts Kansas City.
Ball out to the far side for Suleimanov, running at Nolan Norris, chops back onto his left foot. Davis with the shot, got under that and sent it well clear over the FC Dallas shield and over the two Toyota vehicles parked behind the goal on the north end of Toyota Stadium. No sign of any further Dallas alterations at the moment. Eric Quill in deep conversation with his staff, looking for their first win at home. Martin Paz goes long, looking for Musa. Header one by Kansas City and Jansen Miller. Second ball picked up by Dallas. Norris ahead for Nsabalang. Quick exchange, nice volleyed pass there from Acosta. Back to Ramiro, now Nsabalang. Runners ahead of Lucho Acosta. He finds Leggett. Leggett returns it to the number 10 on a dribble up the left side. Kyrie Shelton defending. Here's a ball into the middle. Finds Musa. Musa brings it down, looking for space to shoot. Sets it back for Nsabalang, edge of the 18. And a mix-up again with Leggett. No shot coming that time for the Dallas midfield duo. And a ball in behind going the other way. Joveljic with Ibiaga on his back. Joveljic into the 18. Heavy touch from Kansas City's new number 9. And both sides wasteful inside the box as we went end to end there in a matter of seconds.
Musa maybe taking an extra touch there, losing the shooting opportunity. The ball bouncing fortuitously. Nsabalang, he takes an extra touch, so somebody's just got to take responsibility in there.
Farrington inside his own 18 here. No one to pass to. Can't find a way out. Ramiro comes across, has to put it out for a throw. And Dallas desperately need a change, and they will make that change as Kaique is set for his Dallas debut. He's getting ready now. Talk more about that in a moment. 73rd minute. Dallas in front 2-1, but really on the back foot, defending the lead. Garcia. Pass intercepted by Nsabalang. Good defending that time.
I think Dallas wants to make two changes. Looks like Marco Farfan is going to come in as well.
There's a combination up the left for Kansas City, and Dembe got some space, but just got the cross all wrong, and turns out he was offside as well. Now Eric Tommy is getting stripped and ready on the Kansas City side.
Oh, that's another good attacker there that Sporting Kansas City is about to bring in.
Started every game until tonight.
It's a little ironic here. Dallas is about to bring in two defensive-minded players, and I think I understand why. On the other hand, what they're really desperate for right now is just a little more possession. Ability to bring the ball out of the back.
Kaique might be tasked with that. Or the number 55, ready at the center line here with the fourth official. Switching ball out towards Norris. Shelton wants a foul, waved away by the referee as he put it out of play for a throw. Norris likely to be replaced, although he could move into midfield as well, but he will be replaced by Marco Farfan. Steve, 74 minutes, that's the longest stint of Nolan Norris' MLS career. What'd you make of it?
I think it was just fine. I think there was one time in the first half where we mentioned that he might have been outpaced just a little bit by Suleimanov, but otherwise, not a lot of trouble coming down his side.
Interesting to see it's Leggett who's replaced for Kaique, making his FC Dallas debut. As opposed to Ramiro. Might be a good idea to have Ramiro in there alongside Kaique.
They can communicate
well, both Brazilians. First look at the new Dallas number 55, a teenager coming from Gremio for substantial fee as a part of the U22 initiative. And here he is, putting pressure on Kansas City right away. Committed the foul, but they play advantage. He's back into shape now. Eager to impress, tucked in shirt. Number 55 on his back. Lifted out to the near side. And in Dembe. Defending is Shaq Moore. Shallowy. I think a candidate to be replaced as Tommy waits to enter the match. Here's Martin Potts coming out off his line, and he easily intercepts the pass from Emma Rodriguez. And again, Shaq Moore motioning to the bench. He's been up to the task, but it's been a difficult one tonight. Kansas City have really tried to go overloading on his side. Potts launches it long. Can't find Musa. Jansen Miller brings it down. Looks like Ramiro and Kaike, sort of dual number 6s here.
Oh, they are. They're, as you said a while ago, defending out of that 4-4-2 shape now. Peter Musa and Lucho Acosta up front.
Time on the ball for Manu Garcia. A marquee name alongside Dejan Jovalic, the 2 new DPs brought in the transfer window for Sporting Kansas City. Jansen Miller bringing it forward out of the back on the dribble. Now out to the far side for Jake Davis. Suleimanov forced back. Now going to be matched up with Marco Farfan as opposed to Nolan Norris.
Willie Agata about to come in too, so every attacking player now that Sporting Kansas City has off the bench, they're about to come in, and these guys have experience as well.
There's Shelton in between the lines. Back to Suleimanov. Sabalin got a foot to the ball, breaks back for Suleimanov. Farfan, good defending there. Gets it out wide to Siki and Sabaling. Now lifted over the top for Sabaling by Lucho Acosta. Right towards the halfway line, he tries to find Peter Musa, but no real passing options there from the South African.
Would have liked to have seen Musa just launch a run there. Siki had nothing in front of him.
Sabaling been really active defensively. Another good tackle won there. And now Ramiro can spring Logan Farrington. Going to run at Rosero just into the Kansas City half along the right side. Now Farrington, I think sensing what the team needs, checks back with possession for Shaq Moore. Ramiro into Kaike on the turn. Finds Farrington wide right once again. Farrington looking for Kaike. And here's the ball in behind for Musa. Farrington's alert to it. Waiting at the back post is Lucho Acosta. Low cross swung in. Jansen Miller puts it behind for a corner as Acosta was crashing at the back post.
Just a little ball played forward. Nobody from Kansas City reacting, but Logan Farrington reacts, gets there. Lucho Acosta recognizes a moment at the back post and makes the right run. Farrington makes the right pass. Just a nice play there by the Kansas City center back to knock that one out for a corner kick and give Dallas just a little bit of a moment to breathe.
We saw the reverse earlier when Acosta nearly found Farrington in the middle. Now Acosta's going to take the in-swinging corner from the far side. 78 minutes gone. Dallas looking for an insurance goal. In-swinger from Acosta towards the back post over everybody's head. And that's disappointing there on the corner kick.
Also disappointing if you're an FC Dallas defender, seeing Eric Tommy and Willie Agata about to come in.
Jovalic and Shallowy, by the looks of things, to be replaced. Now Suleimanov, as opposed to Shallowy, will come off.
I think Suleimanov has been pretty quiet tonight.
Well, Musa scored 3 in 3 against Kansas City last year. Willie Agata scored 4 goals in 3 games against FC Dallas. And now he's got 10 minutes plus stoppage time. Search for an equalizer here. Restart with a Kansas City goal kick. 25-year-old Nigerian now spearheading the formation for the visitors. Memo Rodriguez closed down by Kaike. Kaike defending here against Manu Garcia. Garcia able to turn past him. Kaike goes sliding in, and he got the ball, but he's whistled for a shirt tug a couple seconds previous.
I know Dallas likes to have Lucho Acosta out there, but looks like he's a little gassed to me. And you also wonder if maybe Pedrinho is a guy that could come in and give him just a little bit more possession.
Acosta only replaced in one game so far this season. That was the first game at Houston. Eric Quill told us he's amenable to coming off, depending on the situation in the game, but we haven't really seen that since. Of course, you'd like to have the luxury of another goal and some insurance that Acosta could maybe provide. Here's Kansas City looking for the equalizer. Agata with the header. Martin Paz covers it up. Immediately, Willie Agata into the action. Found himself unmarked from that free kick and nearly punished FC Dallas.
What you would say for all the possession that Sporting Kansas City's had, up to 58% now, they really haven't tested Martin Paz a lot tonight.
It was actually Rosero who won the header. Agata right in the area as well. I'm just so afraid of Daniel Shalhoub and Willie Agata. Shalhoub already punishing Dallas in the first half. Kaique, 1-2 with Lucho Acosta. Kaique tries to backheel towards Lucho Acosta. Thought he had some space to run into instead. Now he's back tracking defensively. Shalhoub, ball in behind, testing the Dallas back line. That one just out of the reach of Eric Tommy.
Martin Paz really aggressively in his high positioning there, and it paid off handsomely because as that ball came through, Eric Tommy looking to get on it. Martin Paz really only had to take a couple of steps, and he was in the right spot to just scoop it up.
Now Paz goes long, looking for Farrington, who can't win it. Nobody gets a touch to it. It bounces through to Miller. Now all the way through to Postgame. Homegrown Kansas City goalkeeper. Plays it out to Memo Rodriguez. Rosero back to Postgame. Lucho Acosta showing some late game stamina there. Putting pressure on the goalkeeper. Dallas have numbers up here, and Ramiro onto it in midfield, but his tackle puts the ball back through to Postgame.
Yeah, I like Dallas defending a little bit higher here.
82 minutes gone at Toyota Stadium. Dallas hunting for their first home win under Eric Quill. And they've got a free kick as a handball, I think, was whistled against Eric Tommy. Been impressed with Insabling, who's a player you think of more as a attacking player, possession player. He's brought some steel to the left side defensively for Dallas.
And he's really brought in to be a possession guy, and just Dallas just hasn't been able to string enough passes together right now, even with him.
Ramiro into Insabling on the halfway line, finds Musa. Musa not the only one guilty, I think, of just trying to play one touch when it's not needed. Kaique moments ago as well. Acosta's down right now for some contact after the whistle went against Ramiro.
Yeah, I think Musa's been pretty good this year in terms of target play, working away from goal and keeping possession, and tonight it just hasn't been quite as good for him.
Acosta now back to his feet. Equalizing goal in the first half put him some high company amongst MLS greats with 75 goals and 75 assists in his career. Kaique defending Manu Garcia, pokes it ahead, and this is not good. Kaique's gone down here, and he's holding his left ankle, having just come into the game for his Dallas debut, and he looks in some serious pain now.
I didn't like the way Bazakos immediately signaled the trainers on the field either.
Dallas athletic trainers immediately tending to the new number 55.
I don't think there was contact on that.
No, I think he just got spun around, maybe caught in the turf.
There's definitely no contact.
Now up to his feet. Eric Quill in conversation with his coaching staff. The last senior midfield option on his bench is Shokaf Umana.
He's up walking on his own now, but pretty heavy limp. And I was just about to say that you see he's got some pretty good foot speed, and so he does make FCD a little bit more athletic in the midfield.
See if he can continue. Dallas will play with 10 for now. It's going to be a drop ball to Kansas City to restart play. No one coming over from the Dallas bench, so they will trust him to play on once he's allowed back on the field. Ball in towards Agata, tries to win the header, but it bounces through without a touch. Goal kick coming for Dallas.
Well,
KK has to learn about the 2-minute rule now.
Well marked there by Urgide.
Because he went down and received attention, he's going to have to wait off the field here. It's a rule I think that is unique to MLS across the top level worldwide. Try and prevent any time wasting. We can watch every FC Dallas game when you want and where you want with MLS Season Pass. The game is in your hands and you're in control. From exclusive player profiles to game highlights, along with every FC Dallas match streamed to your device, MLS Season Pass has something for everyone. Visit apple.co/FC Dallas to learn more. Long ball from Martin Paz. Header one by Musa. Second header one by Farrington. Finds Acosta, who puts it in behind for Logan Farrington to chase all the way through to Postgame, who puts his foot through it and goes long. Dallas going to have to rely on Acosta defensively in there as a number 6 right now until Ka'ike can re-enter the match. Switching ball from right to left, just evades Shaq Moore, breaks for Shallowy here on the near side touchline. Tries to go past Shaq Moore with a low cross. Shaq Moore wins the first tackle. Shallowy back onto the ball once again. Garcia finds Eric Tommy, the German. Be a real danger man, has been for Kansas City over the past few seasons. They're looking for that cutting edge in the final third. They haven't had much of tonight. And Dembe with it back to Manu Garcia now. Here's Memo Rodriguez, lines up a ball into the box for Kyrie Shelton, headed back into the danger area. Shallowy flicked back into the 6 once again. Ibiaga header straight up into the air. Agata tries to bring it down. Acosta, that makeshift number 6, puts his foot through it. Out for a throw on the near side as Ka'ike now re-enters.
That good scramble defending there by FC Dallas, finally able to control that clearance.
Another header won by Urgide off a cross from Jake Davis. Shelton defended by Logan Farrington. Shaq Moore, awkward one there, had to put his left foot through it, just gives it back to Rosero in the center circle. Acosta sort of coaching Ka'ike through these moments now as he's back into position alongside Ramiro in the Dallas midfield. Seems to be moving pretty freely after tweaking that ankle moments ago. Tommy moving possession from right to left on the dribble. Now Jake Davis on the left side. Cuts past Nsabelang, who loses his footing. Now past Acosta, but then Nsabelang back up and wins it again. Now 1-2 between Nsabelang and Musa. Musa tries to find Siki up the right side, but too much on it, maybe for this point in the game and the amount of running that the South African has done since coming in. 2 minutes of regulation remaining here. Ramiro, nice touch back to Ibiaga, finds Nsabelang, ball ahead for Lucho Acosta. Acosta tripped up by Ndimbe, just shy of the halfway line as Lalas Abubakar looks like he'll be the final change for Dallas on the night.
Ryan, I think a minute ago you saw a nice little backheel ball from Ramiro to get Dallas out of pressure. I think Ramiro's done a really good job tonight with the ball and without it. Probably use a little bit more from him with the ball, but I think you could say that about every FC Dallas player. Defensively, though, he's covered a lot of ground.
Ibiaga takes the free kick, goes long out towards Peter Musa on the far side. Under hits it slightly, and Shelton wins possession back, but Jake Davis caught on it by Ramiro in midfield. Finds Farrington. Farrington goes down, nothing given somehow. We play on.
I think Farrington was maybe looking for that one.
And now Kansas City build up on the far side. Farrington back to his feet, trying to get back into the play. Final minute of regulation. Switching ball out to Ndimbe. Lucho Acosta back defending. Lucho Acosta sliding tackle and a fist pump as well as he clearly hit it off of Ndimbe.
He did. I think
and they've given a corner.
Bazaco's got that one wrong.
I think you got to read the situation there. And the Dallas player comes up fist pumping like that. He's clearly not going to do that when he's conceded the corner. But it's a corner kick for Dallas to defend in the final minute of regulation. And swinging service from the near side. Martin Paz, big punch to it. And it's out for a throw on the far side. Good goalkeeping there.
Yeah, second time Paz has come out and punched the ball in traffic and punched it really well. A lot of authority, gets a lot on it.
Change for both sides now. As we've played 90 minutes, Zoran Basong is in the game for Kansas City, replacing, looks like Rosero, and Lalas Abubakar in replacing Lucho Acosta. Acosta has got to get off the field pretty quickly here as he's got a long way to go. And if he takes too long, Dallas will have to play down a man. But Lucho Acosta with the goal in the first half into that illustrious 75-75 club and ends his night with a terrific sliding tackle in his own half. The Dallas captain replaced by Lalas Abubakar, who's on to batten down the hatches defensively. Making it back three with Ibiaga and Urigide. Throwing into the box, Agata wins a header. And the second header comfortable for Martin Paas. 3 minutes added on. One of the lower numbers you'll see, but the ball has been in play for a large majority of the 45.
Peter Vermees with both hands outstretched, talking to the fourth official, asking why only 3.
And we've already played 1. 2 minutes between Dallas and their first home win under Eric Quill. The punt from Martin Paas looking for Nsabalang. Second ball won by Kaike. Nsabalang being chased back towards his own half, and he concedes the throw. Throwing into midfield for Manu Garcia. Ramiro, another tackle. Bounces out to Ndimbe. Dallas so close. Anything from here would be a dagger blow. Ndimbe defended by Shaq Moore. Shaq Moore, another blocked cross in what has been an astute defensive performance.
Yeah, really hard to beat one-on-one Shaq Moore.
100 seconds to play. Switched over to Kyrie Shelton. Marco Farfan defending against Shallowy. Into the 18 for Basong, the late substitute. Slipped from Shelton. Now a ball swung in, headed away by Ramiro. Now Musa will give chase a foot race to the ball right on the halfway line. Head start there for the Kansas City back line. To the final minute. Ball out to Ndimbe. Header won by the Belgian. Now swing the cross in off the left foot. It finds Agata, but Agata's header flashes wide of goal, and that might be that.
Yeah, Agata there. He had just enough pressure and just enough body on him from behind from Urigide that he wasn't able to get anything clean on it. So another good moment there from the young FC Dallas newcomer. Not really a newcomer anymore, is he?
Not at this point. Not with what he's been through in these opening 6 games.
We'll call him FC Dallas first-year man, Urigide.
He's looked right at home in the heart of the back line for Eric Quill. Shut out last week, and they've limited Kansas City by the looks of things to just the 1 tonight. As Martin Paas readies the goal kick. We've played 3 minutes of stoppage time. The Indonesia international launches it long. We'll play on a little bit longer. Second ball won by Marco Farfan. Header on towards Kaike. Tries to volley further clear. Straight up in the air. Dallas won't mind it here right at the halfway line. It breaks for Kyrie Shelton. Maybe one last chance as Basong has found some space on the far side. Early cross swung in. Looking for Tommy. Abubakar wins the header. Breaks for Ndimbe. Back for Memo Rodriguez. Space on the right side for Kansas City. Shallowy sends the ball in. Abubakar wins the header. And Farrington volleys clear. And that will do it. Dallas fight back from behind to take their first home win under Eric Quill tonight. 2-1 over Sporting Kansas City.
Well, we said it last week as they squeaked out one against RSL that they don't have to be pretty, they just have to count, and we'll talk about it the same way tonight because the second half wasn't peaches and cream, but it's a W.
Leo Chu with the winning goal tonight. Lucho Acosta with a landmark goal tonight. And it's 3 points at home. Dallas moved to 10 points on the season as they're heading into a long stretch. 4 games of 5 coming up on the road. It was important to get this one now in front of the home faithful, and they did. We'll talk about it on the post-game show, but we thank you so much for joining us tonight on the broadcast as FC Dallas wins this one 2-1.
So, what'd you do this weekend?
Well, just took the Tacoma off-road, deep into the woods, got to this hidden campsite only it could reach.
Nice. I hooked up the boat to the Tundra and hit up the lake. Towed it like a pro. Had the whole lake to ourselves.
Hey, wait, did I mention I went rock climbing too? Uh-huh, yeah, thanks to the Tacoma's crawl control.
Well, sounds like we both had fun weekends.
Mine was better.
The Toyota Tundra and Tacoma are built for all the fun. Test drive at your local Toyota dealer or visit Toyota.com today. Toyota, let's go places. Feature availability differs based on trim. See Toyota.com for details.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
UT Southwestern Medical Center in Dallas, Texas, where discoveries change lives. The spark of collaboration that fuels bold thinking in our labs. The spark of inspiration that motivates greatness in the next generation. And the spark of innovation that pushes the boundaries of today's care. At UT Southwestern, teamwork and talent combine to fuel discovery, education, and healing. UT Southwestern, the future of medicine sparks here.
Hi everyone, it's Marco Farfan, and you're listening to FC Dallas Soccer on the FC Dallas app.
Well, third time's the charm for FC Dallas as they get their first home win of 2025, beating Kansas City 2-1 here at Toyota Stadium. Hello, everybody. It is the FC Dallas Postgame Show, brought to you tonight by your local Toyota dealer, Toyota. Let's go places. Also brought to you by UMB Bank. See how UMB can help you achieve your business goals. I'm your host, Sam Hale. I'll be joined in just a few moments by the voices of tonight's victory, Ryan Figert and Steve Davis. But first, let's get you to your postgame highlights. It didn't start out great for Dallas in the 32nd minute. It was Daniel Shallowy again, his 21st goal or assist against FC Dallas, or his 21st game, his 14th. 11 goals, 3 assists. That made it 1-0, Sporting Kansas City. But 5 minutes later, it was Lucho Acosta leveling the score.
Loose back pass again, this time intercepted by Lucho Acosta in the center circle. He's up front all on his own. Musa now joining in. Acosta through ball finds Musa. Skips past Rosero, edge of the 18. Musa checks back for Lucho Acosta, and Acosta scores. A two-man break pays dividends for Dallas, and they're back even.
With Acosta with his second goal of the year and his 75th goal of his MLS campaign, making him the 7th player in MLS history with 75 goals and 75 assists. I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit more as we go here. But then it was 2 minutes later. That was the tying goal from Acosta. The winning goal came in the 39th minute from a first-time scorer.
Here's a ball at the top from Uriguide. Nice weight on it for Sebastian Lletget with the run out of midfield. He's holding off Miller. Miller now wrong side of Lletget. Lletget up the end line. Cut back cross towards Leo Chu. Oh, Leo Chu. It's 2 in 2 minutes. Two of the new boys striking for Dallas here in the first half.
Chu's first goal in FC Dallas colors made it 2-1, and Dallas played 45 minutes on the second half up on that one, and they see out the win for their first at home in 2025. Let's get you tonight's post-game stats, which are brought to you by UMB Bank. Possession goes the way of Kansas City, 60-40. 13 shots for Sporting Kansas City, 8 for Dallas. 5 of those shots on goal for Kansas City, just 2 for FCD, although both of those shots went in, so not too bad. 7 corners for the visitors, 2 for the home side. You had 4 saves for Martin Paz, none for John Pulskamp. 12 fouls for Dallas and 12 for SKC. 2 yellow cards for Dallas, 1 for the visitors. As we bring in the voices of tonight's victory, Ryan Figert and Steve Davis. And I want to paint a picture of this one. Not a big one, but just if you remember those motivational posters with the cat hanging on by its claws on the clothesline, and the caption was like, "Hang in there, baby," or something like that. That's exactly how this one felt after Leo Chu's goal. But they hung on, and they got all 3 points because of it.
Well, I tell you what, let me paint a little bigger picture here. Let me draw the camera lens back just a little bit more before we actually sort of get into the nitty-gritty of this one and what you just talked about. So a couple of weeks ago, as we left the stadium, Dallas, having lost 2 to open at home, and we're looking up records of when's the last time that happened. It hasn't happened. and it hadn't happened in a long time. I think only once before.
Yep.
Open up with 2 home losses, or first 2 home games. Well, now we sit here, 6 matches in, 10 points from 6. That's pretty good. You look at the standings, all of a sudden they're in 4th place. And again, we don't really look at the standings in March, but just as sort of the exercise here to show how different a couple of weeks can feel now. Yeah, they've hung on to these wins the last couple of weeks, but they are wins. And now all of a sudden they go into a really tough stretch with 10 points instead of sitting there 2 weeks ago. They had 4 points from 4 games. Now they have 10 points from 6 games, and everybody's going to feel a little bit better. So as we go through this, when I talk about some of the things that they can still improve, just understand that the position they're in, to launch that improvement just looks a whole lot better, Sam.
Yeah, that's right where I was going to go with it, too, is it's so much easier to build something from positive results than it is when you're constantly being beaten down by bad results. Just ask Sporting Kansas City right now and what they're trying to do. They still haven't got a win now, going back to September of last year, and that's with the coach who's one of the most experienced coaches that MLS has ever seen. He's seen it all, and he's struggling to get this team to build any cohesion because it's so difficult to do when you're showing up at the weekend and losing. And Dallas have found ways to grind out games, and now it's going to be about building the quality in going forward because it's going to be required in these next 5 games, 4 of them away from home and against some of the league's top teams.
So before we really dig in, I want to ask one more kind of big picture question here. Dallas scores twice, 37-39, and then nobody scores again, Dallas or Kansas City. I can see 2 ways where supporters are going to take this. They're either going to look at it and go, man, Dallas took a lead and then hung on and they gutted out the win. Or they're going to say, man, Dallas could not find the 3rd goal, and instead they had to play their way through that on a kind of a nerve-wracking 60 minutes. And I'm curious, and Ryan, I'll start with you on this one. Which one of those do you think is a more valid viewpoint, or are either of them valid in this case?
No, I think they did hold on, to be honest. I think we have to be realistic about the way the second half went, but here's the problem with Kansas City right now is they get into sort of the U of death where they switch it from one fullback. They don't find anything going inside. They maybe swing across in. If they don't swing across in, they go back all the way to the other side and try and swing across in from the right side. And so that's the weakness of Kansas City right now. And so if you say sit back and you can have it in those areas, that can be a positive game plan against a team that really can't break down a low block. And that's what we saw in the second half. Dallas limiting really any dangerous opportunities, maybe 1 or 2. I think Nolan Norris had a good block off the line on a header from Suleimanov, and that's kind of the only one that really springs to mind. Meanwhile, on the break, Dallas had 2 or 3 almost moments where you had a player wide open in the middle and the cross was just off the mark or something like that. So is it pretty, especially to play that way at home? Absolutely not. And I think that Eric Quill will want more control, particularly in the home games, than he saw down the stretch. But there are different ways to control the game, and today I think they controlled it without the ball, particularly really good in 1v1s from both fullbacks, and that was Nolan Norris and Marco Farfan on the left, and really stood out to me with Shaq Moore on the right.
Yeah, it's okay to not control games in terms of possession. 60% possession so far, 60% possession from the visitors. LAFC